on, Runpure fam? Allie here with an update from all of the big wins this past week by our great Runpure Sports members and hosts. Huge congrats to Runpure's very own Kay Fallick on the big 27K day in college football.
Other RPS hosts to ship included Mangone with a 25K hit in NBA and AP, who had a 12K NBA night after calling his shot on our Hardwood show.
The thing about Kuzma, he's 8K now, so I think he's more so a tournament play. I think that price tag is going to keep ownership down, but look to see where kind of the industry average is and then project them up. And then Daniel Gafford, I think, man, if he gets 30 minutes here, I'm going to say it right now, he's getting 40 plus fantasy points easy in this matchup, and I'm on the Wizards side.
But the biggest winners were our members who continue to crush it as we head into the new year.
In NHL, T. Wayrich took home 27K. In NBA, Bobby Hare hit for 12K on DraftKings, while Nick the Stick pulled in 17K.
Our football content is continuing a hot streak by producing winners, and our members are cashing in, including
JMoney75, who hit for 10K at Yahoo, and our biggest winner was Russell D, who repped the RPS brand while pulling in 150K in DraftKings Best Ball Millie Tournament.
And speaking of Best Ball Underdog, they are running a bunch of playoff Best Ball tournaments. If you haven't signed up, now is the perfect time to do so. By using offer code RUNPURE, you can get $20 with your first deposit.
We've recently teamed with SaberSim to offer a great deal on a combo subscription where you can access all of our content and their great optimizer and projection system for one low price, which will save you close to $50 monthly.
Head on over to runpuresports.com to get the deals and start running pure with us.
What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, aka ToeTagginTambo, back for the season-ending Week 18 edition of Off the Chalk here at Runpure Sports. Got my boys, like always, JT Hayes and AP. We'll get to you guys in a second. But before we do, you guys know the deal. Hit the like button on the way in. Helps us out a lot. Gets it rolling for the morning. And then we roll into the morning wood right after, where you go 6 to midnight with Holden, Hoop, and Big T, who's coming off another huge night in the NBA. He said he bet the Eagles, hurt his feelings, and then went out and shipped 70K plus last night in the NBA streets, which is awesome to see. Everyone over here at Runpure Sports doing nice, doing well. We've got a Week 18 in front of us. Yesterday was wild. I expect more of the same today. It's going to be crazy when you expect X, Y happens, and etc. So we'll get to it. But AP, my man, I'm going to bring you in here first. How's it going this fine early Sunday morning?
Yeah, it's going good. I was doing my best to chase down Big T yesterday in the NBA streets, but I needed like 47 from PJ Tucker, and PJ Tucker didn't come through. But rarely does he ever hit those kind of numbers. So it is what it is. But yeah, huge shout out to Big T smashing the NBA yesterday, and I'm excited for the slate, guys. I think it's going to be a fun one. Was up late, kind of just diving in. I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, same. There's a lot to dive into, so we'll get to it pretty quick. It is tough. I know when we watched Big T in real life chasing down Title, not very fast, but chasing him down in the DFS streets is much harder. He's usually at the top and stays there and hits that finish line, so that's good. JT, what's going on, man? How you doing this Sunday?
Yeah, nothing better than a 1% owned Lance Stevenson with a 54 burger to get you home. Incredible play there. Congrats to him once again. And Week 18. It's going to be a wild slate. There's a lot of guesswork involved here with who's going to play, which starters are going to play, and how long they're going to play. We saw known donkey Mike McCarthy run his starters into the ground last night, even guys like Zeke who've been hurt all year. And I'm sure the Eagles won't soon forget how he played those starters against the B team. So very interesting to watch for that rivalry. But Week 18, excited to get after this slate.
Yeah, I am too. And I think there's a lot of stuff to come out. So you guys will want to stick with us right up till the end today because there's a lot of reports that are still sitting in limbo. We don't know certain guys. We'll talk through what we've got here. We're not going to go game by game like they do on the second show. So you'll hear little tidbits throughout, nuggets around motivation, incentives, all that stuff, and why the chalk is on them is typically because of those things. And then we'll talk about where we're going to get different, plenty of ways, I think, this week. And I think some spoiler alerts and things like that will be out there early on. Some of the, last night, Philly put up a fight for the first half. I think we could see some of that today. There's even some bets I like for the first half that we might talk about throughout the show. But let's get into it. Let's start here, guys. Hit the like button. We're already at pushing for 100 quick. So let's do that. Let's get that out of the way. And then we roll for 200. We're going to start at the quarterback position. And AP, I'm going to start with you. Kyler Murray, only $7,400, very meaningful matchup. His guys with him. So Christian Kirk, Zach Ertz, James Conner with no Chase Edmonds, they're all hitting the optimizers out there. And then it obviously forces the idea of just getting to him and just playing all of these Cardinals. So there's that. And then you've got Josh Allen, Tyler Huntley, Taysom Hill, sort of those guys falling in after, different motivations for each, of course. What are your thoughts here at the quarterback position this week?
Yeah, quarterback for me is really interesting. I find myself just jamming in these guys that are in what I think are very elite spots. One, Josh Allen. I mean, they need to win. I don't think they're going to be messing around. And usually in those type of scripts, Josh Allen provides a very safe floor and also has the upside. We've seen these spots where they just pour it on. Now, like it could be kind of like a Dak type of thing where they poured on in the fourth quarter. Like maybe it's like 10 minutes left or something. They pull them out. But the big thing is getting the win and getting that secured. So I have a ton of interest in him. And then, Kyler Murray is one of the other guys too. Out of all, like big slate today, lots of games. That is one game. If the Seahawks come in like they have the last 2 weeks, that game has really nice shootout potential. And I would prefer Kyler Murray over Russ, but I do have Russ on my list too. Now, I mean, this is an off the chalk show, and my three, if you pull up my player pool, my three quarterbacks right now are Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, Russell Wilson. I might need my two guys here to get a few names added to that list because right now that's where I'm at, keeping it nice and simple at that quarterback spot. And right now, I don't I don't mind that at all. But maybe one of you guys can talk me on to maybe like a little bit a lower owned guy, Millie Maker type play. I'm definitely very interested to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I like where you're at there. I think the Arizona-Seattle game is definitely one to get after. Maybe, for me, starting on Thursday, I was thinking the Kyler situation, the ownership has really creeped up there. I definitely think you could still stack it. I think two things about this game. One, and then JT Hayes, I'll get your thoughts. But I think one, you can stack it the other way. So I like that you brought up Russ. He's way down the board as far as ownership goes. It's the same game. If Kyler's hitting a ceiling, most people don't follow this because when we play classic slate on DraftKings, there is no superflex. When anyone who plays college football knows this, the superflex, the idea is usually, I know Big T called out K Fallick, our boy, for being a donkey a couple weeks back, but usually you put a quarterback in the superflex because the most correlated thing in daily fantasy or in fantasy in general is quarterback one with quarterback one. But it's not talked about because on classic slate, we can only pick one quarterback. So that's where if you think that and you think Kyler has this big game, obviously Russ can have the quarterback, can take over on the other side in that quarterback position, the same spot, and you just put him in instead. And that's a way to get unique within the game. The other situation, I think, and we'll talk more as we get through the other positions, is just that, you don't want to have all these guys in your optimizer builds and not have a quarterback. But I think you could have like James Conner and Zach Ertz without Kyler because one, I'm saying, let's say James Conner bangs in 2 or 3 on the ground. I know that's optimistic, but that could happen. And then Ertz is a 1Z position where you have to play a tight end and just racks up 8 catches for 80 or something. That's still a pretty good day. But JT Hayes, we'll talk about some more quarterbacks first. What are your thoughts here with Kyler Murray at the top, Tyler Huntley, Taysom Hill, those guys, and then talk to me about some other guys you like at the position as well.
This says a lot about week 18 that Arizona-Seattle game is the highest total on the slate at 48, which is normally a fairly low total. But these two teams have had some interesting back and forth games last year. Towards the middle of the season, it was a game where it was Kyler and it was Tyler Lockett who went back and forth and had huge games, ended up in all the winners. So I like this game quite a bit. I like Kyler quite a bit. I like these games in domes quite a bit, to be honest, just because we do have some weather here, particularly in the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. There's going to be some nasty weather in the game with Baltimore and the Steelers. I think some people were looking at Tyler Huntley. Looks like it's going to be a pretty cold, wet game there. One guy that usually is chalk when he starts, he's been starting now for the better part of the season, that isn't, at least as of this moment, seeming to get a lot of attention. But we've been talking about this every Sunday. You play the quarterback against the Atlanta Falcons. Taysom Hill, 6.2 with that rushing upside. They will be indoors in the Dome. The Falcons have been playing hard, even though they've been losing. But Josh Allen hung 26 on them last week in a pretty easy fashion. And I expect that Taysom Hill is going to get there too. And if you want to get Kupp, or if you want to get to Jonathan Taylor, which we'll talk about here later, as to whether or not that's an optimal strategy to try and force those guys in your lineups on a 13-game slate where there's a lot of value, there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of guesswork too, then I think it's going to be difficult to get up to a Tyler, to get up to a Josh Allen. But I don't think you need both today. So interesting in terms of roster construction.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing you brought up is, if you go down the board just a little bit, there are guys there. The Taysom Hill one you brought up, I like as well. I'm actually further down the board, AP, so we'll get to some other plays here, but I'll try and give you some. I think one game for sure, the Chicago-Minnesota game, if you can go that game, you got Kirk Cousins, you got Andy Dalton on the other side. It's a little bit ugly, but when you think about some of the plays, and they're popping up, I'm seeing them pop up as one-offs. I'm seeing people willing to play them, but not maybe willing to stack them. And that's where you're seeing the Mooney, the Allen Robinson, the Komet, if you want to go the Andy Dalton side. The other way, you've got Dalvin Cook, one of the cheapest prices we've seen all season. Noah Keem Hicks there. He could run all over these guys. That's been the run stopper against him in the past. And now you've got Justin Jefferson still there, just racking up the targets with no Adam Thielen. You've got Tyler Conklin. There's definitely other guys that you can go to within that game. So I think it's pretty interesting. And then also going down, Stafford versus Jimmy G. This game, Jimmy G is way down the board. I have no clue why. Again, back talking about that correlation at the quarterback. Even Stafford, though, is down the board, sitting between 5 and 10% range as far as ownership goes. I know it gets dispersed, but that's just too low, I think, for this spot, especially when you see what Kupp's ownership is. There's other guys you can play instead of Kupp. You can do game stacks where I'd actually be okay, because normally you know what I'm going to say, and we get to Kupp at 9,700 as the chalk of the slate. But in this game stack, or if you ran it with the Jimmy G side and use Kupp as your run back instead of how most will stack him up or use him as a one-off, I don't like Kupp as a one-off especially. I don't normally like that, when a guy's the highest owned, highest priced. But in this game stack, I think, and they're playing for a lot. We were looking at it before. Producer Simon and I were going through it actually before we jumped on air. And you look at the breakdown, the Rams can go from second seed, and 2 home games to like one of the worst matchups to start the playoffs and no home games. So it's an extremely important game for them. The other side, the 49ers need to win as well. So we should see a good game there. There's other guys within it. Debo, Elijah Mitchell, Kittle. There's all kinds of guys. Ayuk. You can stack this game up any way you want, yet everyone wants to stack the Arizona-Seattle game because of the total. Look, it's the best total on the week, but as JT Hayes mentioned, there's not very many good totals in general. So you're going to have to take chances either way. And if you think you know what's going to happen, trust me, I did yesterday. The complete opposite can definitely happen on a week 18. AP, what are your thoughts on that? And then other guys at the quarterback position.
Yeah, no, I mean, you make a really good point. What you think is going to happen, probably, it could, but also it couldn't. So it's good to keep an open mind. And that goes for NFL too. Like you've said that throughout the season, and that's just been very true. Another guy I'm looking at, I don't know if he's going to make my list, but look, like Ryan Tannehill, Deonta Foreman looks like he's going to be one of the more popular running backs. So if you want to get different, you can play Tannehill and pair him there with A.J. Brown against the Texans, who look like the Titans are in a must-win spot too if they want to get home field advantage, which they definitely do. If they watch the Chiefs, like the last thing you want to do right now is give the Chiefs home field advantage. Like they don't look right over the past game and a half, and you don't want to give them anything that could like help them out. And home field advantage in Arrowhead is what would help the Chiefs out quite a bit. So I expect the Titans to just be a full go today. Tannehill to A.J. Brown, very affordable too. I think it's a very interesting way to go. And then it's like, for me, it gets a little bit tougher. Like I'm actually under on the 49ers Rams game. I'm not playing Stafford or Jimmy G. It's just, and I'm probably not playing Cup. So I like your mention there with the correlation. And I'm just going to get off of that chalk. I did it last week and it was fine. Going to do it again this week. I think I'll be fine. It gets a little tougher, but like you could make, like if we thought the Packers were going to rest a bunch of key defensive players, I'd be fine with like a lone Jared Goff to our boy Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, the Lions are they're gonna be a full go today. Like they're gonna try to win. They're in the same situation they have been since like week 6. I mean, like nothing has changed with the Lions. They're never making the playoffs. So keep an eye on the Packers, and if they rest starters specifically on the defense, because that's
just
where
looking at JT Hayes, and I'm laughing here because you already brought up Amon-Ra St. Brown. So we do the Mail Network show on Thursdays, and this week, a week like this, there's very little information out there on Thursday. So we turned it into a very informative segment for the people on some guy named Amon-Ra St. Brown. So we'll save that, JT Hayes. Let's save that for when we get to the wide receiver position. Stay tuned because we got some unheard of news about Amon-Ra St. Brown that you may not know. And it's not only that his brother is Equinemius St. Brown. So I'll leave it at that. But JT Hayes, anybody else you want to talk about at the quarterback position before we move on to running back?
I just got a big smile when AP was like, I'm fine with Jared Goff. And I got a question. Is there a week this season when he's been on the field where you have not run a Jared Goff stack?
Oh, yes. There's many weeks. But I definitely did have, out of all of us, the most. Hey, he got it. What was that? He got it done.
He got it done that week for you. He got it done. He's been, hey, listen, he has, so we'll talk about him on around when we get there. But he has come on at the second half of the season. He's been fine. I don't know if I'll get there. I think I like the Cousins play. Was starting to think about him a little bit last night. Just the more I thought about that game and the environment, the Bears being a little bit vulnerable on defense, and you've got one of the best pass catchers in the game in Justin Jefferson. I think that they're certainly going to be looking to pad their stats on the way out. Dalvin Cook saying that he's playing this game for his dad, so he's got some emotional motivation there as well. So I think that's pretty interesting. And again, that's a game that is indoors, if I'm not mistaken. The game is in Minnesota, so I think that's something that we want to pay attention to here on this slate as well. As far as any other quarterbacks, I was looking this morning, and if the weather wasn't going to be so crappy at MetLife, I'd be a little bit interested in Taylor Heineke at 5.4, but I think the weather is going to take me off of that, even though the Giants are in absolute dumpster fire once again heading into the offseason on both sides of the ball. So can't really get interested in that too much. Probably going to be staying with one of the quarterbacks in one of the dome games here for week 18.
Yeah, speaking of things you want to pay attention to the bottom right corner of your screen. There's a thumbs up button there. You can click it. Pay attention to the bottom left hand. It tells you how many are watching. There's almost 300 watching, less than 100 likes. Let's move it, people. We need 100 quick. Then we got to go for 200. So let's keep that rolling here. We're going to hop into running back. Before we do, just talking through the chat, like, don't act like, Mitch Trubisky and guys like this haven't won Millie Makers before. So Andy Dalton, you can see it. Davis Mills in that game there. AP brought up the Tennessee side, but I think you could go to that Tennessee-Houston game, and it's a good segue because that passing game could be more involved than we think, or you can build that passing game on the Houston side around Deontay Foreman at the top. So moving over to running back, AP, we've got Deontay Foreman. Heard all the talk this week, so Henry didn't end up getting pushed in. You got Jeremy McNichols, who they dropped and got rid of, so opens up even more. It's Deontay Foreman and Hillard, I think, and they brought up one guy from their practice squad, maybe just to have there, but Deontay Foreman, it's a revenge game. We've got all these factors rolling in his way. It's a matchup against Houston is the bottom line. He's cheap for 5,700. So you got him, you've got James Conner with no Chase Edmonds, David Montgomery and the workload that he continues to get, and then, of course, Jonathan Taylor at the top. What are you doing here this week at the running back position?
Yeah, so we have two. So, like, I would add Devin Singletary to that list of guys that are getting talked about.
Yeah, he's next in line. You're right. Sorry.
And honestly, there are, like, we talk about it all the time. Like, the three guys that are projected to be, like, very popular, I'm fine moving off of. And that's Devin Singletary, James Conner, David Montgomery. Let me explain why. Singletary, look, like, we've seen these games where Allen just, like, one, the Bills traditionally do not like to feed the running backs at all. So what we've seen lately could be, indicative of matchup. There was a few weather situations and just spots where they needed to feed him. Now, he could get that volume, but at the same time, it could just be a Josh Allen game too. If Josh Allen runs in those first 2 touchdowns, Devin Singletary is not going to be just they're not going to pound him to the ground throughout. They want all these guys fresh. I mean, maybe I'm wrong there, but I see many paths for failure for him. I'm a David Montgomery hater. Not hater, but I just never play him, and he's the cash guys love him, and I'm off that guy. He averages 2 yards a carry, and he just falls into these nut situations where there's a turnover, in the other team's red zone, and then now he has a red zone opportunity, and then they just pound it, and he gets it, he falls into the end zone. So I see the Vikings getting up early here, and I just think the script would be one where they let Andy Dalton kind of sling it around, in this last game. So I will easily get off David Montgomery, and then the last guy, James Conner. So we were talking about it last night with Snyder. This guy's been dealing with some injuries. So one, if this game, and why I like the possibility of a shootout here is he's limited in practice all week. I usually assume that he's, a guy is going to be good to go, and he probably is. He's probably going to get his fair share. However, there's some concerns there. We saw it with the Chiefs, you just these guys, if they re-injure something, the playoffs are going to be the Cardinals want to win this game. Tell me if I'm wrong right here. They want to win this game, but it's not a must win for them, is how I see it. Is that right, Tambo?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to play to win. So that's all that matters.
Okay,
I think, like you said, though, James Conner doesn't have a lot behind him. So I can see the argument, but he is chalk. This is like last week to be AP. We talked about it here. We just told you that the chalk was trash. This is another spot where I don't think the running back chalk is as bad this week as it was last, but it's also, there's definitely potential spots to get off. So I don't hate your movement here to be able to go down. There's Elijah Mitchell, Sony Michel. There's other guys in this exact range that you can go down and play, or you could play Rashad Penny in the same game to get completely unique on the other side at basically the same price. So there's a lot of other ways that you could go here for sure.
Yeah, and but the guys I really like, Jonathan Taylor, this is a spot where they're not going to fool around. They're going to feed this guy in one of the best matchups that he's going to get. That is, and I think you can only play 3 running backs. So you can't play all of these guys. I'd rather get overweight on a guy like him. Even Deontay Foreman, we talked about. I think they're just going to, give him the volume. They don't want to mess around here. He's looked really good. 2 plays that I thought were going to be the most popular plays out of all of these guys, and they could end up being, but they're a little bit down on the list. So those are 2 guys I would rather have in over the 3 that I mentioned. And so as far as eating chalk at the running back position, I would add those 2 guys, and then getting off the chalk a little bit, Rashad Penny, the volume that they're giving him, I like him in Kyler stack. So you're just building off a script there where you play Kyler, they lean on the receivers and that, and maybe the Seahawks get a touchdown early through Rashad Penny, and you got a nice little script going there.
Yeah, and we saw it even last week, right? You could have Russell Wilson with Penny and with a receiver, and the 3 of them get there. It just happened. So I definitely don't hate that. Like you said, opposite side of that game, you can go there and then use the pass catchers instead for Arizona. I like that more. Deontay Foreman is the guy I got a tougher time getting off of at the top. I just think he makes more sense, cheap, in a good matchup. They got to win, must win for Tennessee, all these factors. There's nobody else there. Dropping McNichols wasn't that he was a huge factor. It just adds to it. If there's going to be less competition there, it means they're going to give him a shot. I want the opportunities and then see what happens. And then Jonathan Taylor, again, he's not coming up as the top because his price and it's harder to go. And some people don't want to take a shot on some of these value plays, but I think there's enough value wide receivers and tight ends that you can play him. I also like working these guys into stacks. Like I talked earlier, Dalvin Cook, if you go further down the board and off the chalk, I could put him in to those game stacks. I think Elijah Mitchell in that game for those game stacks, these all make sense to me. But JT Hayes, what are you doing here with the chalk? And then who are some of the guys you're going to get off the chalk this week?
Yeah, I didn't think when we got to week 18 that I would be locking in Deontay Foreman, but here we are. We're week 18 and Deontay Foreman looks to be in legitimately one of the top 2-3 matchups on the board for running backs. Matchup against the Texans indoors. We have seen replacement backs do just as well. Justin Jackson a few weeks ago against this Texans team. We saw Elijah Mitchell do very well against this team last week. And you've got to love the Titans offensive line. I mean, they haven't skipped a beat with who they brought in to get behind that line after Derrick Henry went down. So I think D'Onta Foreman for me is number one in. The thing about both Taylor and Cooper Kupp this week, yeah, they're both in great spots, but at their prices, is there replacement value? Is there a player that can match them on a point per dollar basis that can let you get different and still have a good lineup at every position rather than taking chances on guys that may or may not see the field? Because I feel that's what you do to get both those guys in, is you're going to go to that 3-4K range at running back, right? So yeah, maybe Patrick Taylor is going to be a great play for the Packers against the Lions. I don't know how much of the game he's actually going to see. I'd expect that the Packers sit these starters somewhere either before or right around halftime, which means I'm paying, yes, a discount, 4K, but I'm only getting one half of football. I have the same concern with Keyshawn Vaughn, who I liked, but then I'm thinking, hey, he's kind of like the Tampa Bay starter once you get into the playoffs if Leonard Fournette is not ready. So how much of the game is he going to see? So I think I'm going to start with Foreman. I think that Connor is a risk because, one, you're not going to know until 425 if he's actually going to suit up and play. And then you're kind of left scrambling. Yes, you can go right to Rashad Penny, who I like as well. You can go to Elijah Mitchell or Sony. Both of those guys I like as well. Both of those guys I like more than Montgomery. I will say Devin Singletary does seem to have carved out a lead back role for the Bills, something that we haven't seen with them in the last several seasons. And AP's right. It's matchup driven. Last week with the Falcons, a couple of weeks ago, he gets the best matchup on the board here against the New York Jets. So you've got some weather there. It's probably going to be a little bit more difficult to throw in Buffalo, especially this time of season. I can see Devin Singletary getting there, but I can also see not being worried that Singletary is going to get a 40-point game like someone like a Jonathan Taylor would. So it's easier to stay off of him.
Yeah, one more for you, JTH, just because I know you brought this up on the Thursday show. Samaje Perine, any option to go there? What are your thoughts on him come Sunday morning now?
Yeah, absolutely. I am interested in Samaje Perine. The question is, am I going to get to him? Because if I rank them, for me, in a game that is going to be nasty, it's going to be a win game too. That Cleveland-Cincinnati game, you're going to have now a backup quarterback for the whole game for Samaje Perine. He's 5'3". I don't find myself needing to get to him as much as I thought I would on Thursday. So with D'Onta Foreman, with some of these other guys, with not forcing Kupp and Taylor into my lineups and working more on those indoor game stacks that we've been talking about, staying with those dome games. A lot of these, we haven't even talked about Alvin Kamara, who's in a great matchup against the Atlanta Falcons. And Kamara might come in under 5% owned, and he's got 30-point upside in this matchup. He's from Georgia, loves to play in the Georgia Dome. So I just think there's enough ways to get different without having to go to Perine, but I likely will have some Samaje Perine just because he's going to be the lead back and he's going to get 4 quarters of football at 5.3 in a pretty good matchup against a Browns team that, decent defense, but I think that Samaje Perine can get to 20 points here.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility. I'm glad you brought up Kamara because that's where I was going next. I think it's just a great spot. He's getting no ownership at all. It's $8,300. It's a completely fair price. Saints are in a must-win matchup spot. People are liking Taysom. I think it's even a spot where you could go back to putting them together, but I'm not necessarily going that route. I like to separate and get the leverage instead. Taysom is popular. He was like the 4th most popular quarterback we talked about. Not popular enough you need to get off of him, but I'm just saying in general, I think Kamara is an interesting player because he's cheaper than Jonathan Taylor. Most, if they find the money to pay up, will just go to Jonathan Taylor here, and for good reason, like we talked about. Speaking of Taylor, too, some of the stats and facts of those that don't know it, obviously, but he needs like 266 yards to hit 2,000 on the season. Want JT2K, as they said in the chat. He needs 2 touchdowns to hit 20. And the interesting tidbit, or the nugget that people aren't talking about enough, is that last season it was week 17 because they didn't have the extra game, but it was the exact same spot. It was Indy versus the Jags to round out the season.
Yeah.
He went off for like 253 on the ground on 30 attempts and scored 2 touchdowns. So for those thinking maybe he, doesn't get there or can't, the other thing, and I brought this up earlier, I'll drop one right now. I think the Jags, again, nothing else to play for. It's just kind of like their mini Super Bowl to finish the season strong. They're going to try really hard. And I think the first half, they're like a +10 underdog or +9.5 underdog first half. I like that first half bet. I think they could show up early, almost like how the Eagles did last night. That's not a big deal as far as anything besides place the bet, win the money, and go after it that way. But for fantasy, you're going to see more of JT in that spot. So that just gives you a little bit more ammunition and chances for him to be able to hit it from there. So I don't hate that. And then the Kamara thing you brought up, AP, any of these other expensive guys you want to talk about? Najee Harris is there. I talked about Dalvin Cook a little. And then in the chat, guys, just anybody else who wants to talk about for the wide receiver position, that's coming up next. Keep hitting that like button. Up to 400 watching now and just under 150. Got to get to 200 here quick, and then we move from there. AP, expensive running backs, and then anybody else you want to talk about before we go to wide receiver.
Yeah, I kind of like this idea of playing these expensive guys because I think you're going to find so much ownership in this mid-tier, which they're strong plays too, but we've seen like these plays time and time again where we think there's no potential bust all the time. And I think you'll be pretty contrarian if you tried to play a Jonathan Taylor and Dalvin Cook or Jonathan Taylor and Alvin Kamara. So I have a ton of interest in that. And I think, at the receiver position, if you can dig and find, like digging deep enough, like you're going to find some nice value. So I like that quite a bit. I'm with you. I added Kamara to my player pool. One of my goals, I'm going to try to keep a tight running back pool. I'm already added a bunch of these guys to my fade list, the guys I mentioned to start off with. So I don't really have anyone like crazy off the wall here. Like you could look at a Ramon Stevenson. I don't want to play that game. Patriots, Dolphins. We've seen these Patriots running backs just smash these teams though. And I don't think they're going to run Damian Harris, into the ground. It's going to be a Stevenson type game, but you could even see Brandon Bolden, get some work. So I'm really hesitant to go there. Eli Mitchell is another guy I'm considering adding to my pool. He kind of just, these 49er running backs always I typically am underweight on them, and that's not the right move at all. We saw Mitchell have an awesome game last week. And so they're just guys I need to look at a little bit harder, especially in a game where both sides of this game are going to be motivated to win. And we've seen the Rams really struggle against the run. So I do think the 49ers are going to have their way on the ground here. If Mitchell's 10 to 15% owned, I think that's pretty tasty ownership right there.
Yeah, and you brought up a couple good points there too, like the backups and stuff. So, JT had brought it up earlier with A.J. Dillon, Patrick Taylor, that situation in Green Bay. Wait on the Aaron Jones news. On the Damian Harris news, could be Ramondre Stevenson, Brandon Bolden. And then the only other one that I thought that stood out before we move on to wide receiver is just the Sony Michel. And JT, you brought it up quick for a second there, but just thinking out loud, the Cam Akers news that's hitting all the waves right now, say, oh, he's back. And it's obviously a miraculous recovery to have him back that quick. And he's, looked good and he's flying around out there. What do you really see from a guy like Cam Akers today? And I think it could keep Sony Michel's ownership down, but in my eyes, they would just roll him out still and let him do all the work and let Cam Akers to continue to get healthy, maybe get a few reps. But again, you think X is going to happen and then Y does. What are your thoughts on those Rams backs before we move to wide receiver?
Yeah, I think Akers gets in the game. I think he gets, I would say, a ceiling of 15 snaps. So potentially takes away a little bit from the ceiling for Sony Michel. But the points that we're all making earlier of how important this game is for the Rams in terms of what they would face in the playoffs if they win versus if they lose. And I think this is really just a spot for Cam Akers to get a feel for the speed of the game again, get hit a little bit, get a couple of rushes, maybe a pass out of the backfield. I think this is Sony's show, and it's been Sony's show even when Darrell Henderson came back for a short period of time. He was the backup. So Sony has taken control of this backfield. It's been the first time in a long time that someone has been able to do that in Los Angeles. And that's where I think he stands. So it's enough where you got to think about it, but I don't think it's a major impact to it.
Yeah, and it's good that you brought that up because that's the thing. That's the offense, right? Powerful offense, going after a must win. We talked about the scenario, quite the polarizing situation they're in if they don't win, where you can be like the second seed with the 2 home games to no home games at all and playing a completely different matchup altogether going into the playoffs there. So I think that's a good segue to move over because we're still going to stay on the Rams, AP. And I've hinted at it. I've talked about it throughout the show already. You know who's at the top. $9,700 Cooper Kupp for the Rams, looking around, pushing 30% ownership. So what are your thoughts on Cooper Kupp? The other guys up there with him, you got Justin Jefferson, Robinson, Christian Kirk, Cooks, some of these guys. And then we'll talk about some of the cheap guys later on. But talk to me about Cooper Kupp first and then some of the other chalk this week, what you're doing with them, and then other guys that you can play at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, I am fully on board with you in this. Like, sure, Cooper Kupp has the ability to have one of those type of days where it's like, no cup, no cash, as the Discord streets like to say, but it takes a lot for him to absolutely dust you. And I know there's different narratives and stuff around him. They could feed him the ball and all this different stuff. But at the end of the day, they need to win this game. And so do the 49ers. Like, are the 49ers really going to let Cooper Kupp beat them? Well, teams probably say that each and every week, but still, it would make sense to have some sort of bracket type coverage on him, someone shadowing, looking, I just pointed that like 9,700 on this slate when we have so many elite premier spend up options. He's really going to cap your build, in my opinion, going to force you to punt somewhere. And I would rather fade him and get overexposed to some of these other, really good plays. Because like if you're trying to play Taylor and Kupp, I think that's going to be a very hard thing to do this week. You might have a nice floor in your build, but your upside is going to be capped unless one of those guys absolutely break the slate. So I'm going to be off Kupp. I'm going to be a little bit lower on this game overall. I mean, as I said last week, I'd rather go like a Van Jefferson or OBJ. But honestly, like, why even go there? We have so many. Like, if I'm not high in that game, like I was telling myself last night, like, why even go there? Like, why try? Like, we often say like, oh, instead of going Kupp, I'm going to go Jefferson. Well, I'm not playing Stafford anyway, so I'm just going to move off of that game. There's other really nice spots where we can go to. As far as like receivers that I think are really good plays that I'm not correlating with the quarterback. So this would be like a secondary correlation or in-game type stack. Brandon Cooks is one of them, 6.3K on DraftKings. This dude, Davis Mills, is just peppering this guy. He's been extremely good, extremely consistent, double-digit targets for 3 or 4 straight games when he's been in there. And a nice matchup here. And I love Deontay Foreman. I get a nice running back opposing wide receiver 1 little combo stack there. That's one that I really like. And then my other one, I want to save the conversation around this, but Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, this guy's been an absolute beast. And shout out to JT Hayes. No one knew who this guy was. No one knew. Like, are you kidding me? Like, this was like week 12, maybe week 11. Our friend over there, JT Hayes, mentions some guy named Amon-Ra St. Brown when no one else knew who he was. I mean, I laugh about that all the time because I'm like, who? Like, who's this guy? And then now he's like one of the best receivers in the NFL. The guy, like, this guy is very good. Very good route runner. I have a ton of interest in him, but I don't like, it's more of a one-off. Because I don't know who I'm running it back with. I mean, you could run it back with his brother. Maybe that's the bit that you guys are going to get into. But as far as like good plays, Cooks in Amon-Ra, as far as like who am I going to correlate with my favorite quarterback, I'm looking, I could go Kirk, but I really like Antoine Wesley, 4.1K. And I know we're going to get into some of the values, but the targets are going to be there. He really opens up what I can do with roster construction. And I think he's one of my favorite, like he'll be pretty high up overall on my list this week.
Yeah. And even JT Hayes didn't know who he was. That's why it was some guy named. He didn't quite know who he was just yet, but he created a monster. So JT Hayes, go ahead. Tell the story. Tell the people about Amon-Ra St. Brown, because now you're very invested into his life and you've dug deep and you've drawn up some great nuggets. So what do you got?
Yeah, well, first of all, Mangone is in the YouTube Discord. Good morning, Mangone. And for those of you that don't know, it's his birthday. Hit the like out of respect for Mangone's birthday and get in his DM. Send him a Discord DM and wish Mangone a happy birthday today. Amon-Ra St. Brown, this kid from Mater Dei High School in Southern California, the University of Southern California. John and Miriam, there's like 3 of these kids. All they do is play football. And his brother, Equanimous, you know what they call him? Of course he needs a fucking nickname with that name. It's EQ. So EQ, the St. Brown boys, are going to be playing today. I do like Amon-Ra. Here's the thing with him, all kidding aside, his ascension, if you will, has taken place at the same time as DeAndre Swift got hurt and TJ Hawkinson went on the IL. So he was the guy that's game got elevated, and he took full advantage of it. This is why, before we came on, I was asking about DeAndre Swift. Dan Campbell last week saying he was going to play against Seattle. He was not going to play this week. I don't see an injury designation, so I want to see what happens there. I expect, based on what Dan Campbell said, that Swift will be ruled out. I expect that these Packers defensive players are not going to play a full game, and I expect that Jared Goff is going to give Amon-Ra St. Brown another 12 to maybe 15 targets today, which at 6'8", you're not going to get that kind of target share from anyone else except maybe a Cooper Kupp who's 3,000 more, or as AP mentioned, Brandon Cooks or A.J. Brown, who's another guy that I like in that same game, again, indoors against the Texans. So the thing about it, and, Tambo, you talked about the incentives there for Jonathan Taylor. He needs 266 yards and 2 touchdowns. Cooper Kupp needs 12 catches and 135 yards. If these guys get their incentives, they're going to go nuts. The problem is, can you build a lineup around both of them? I think it's really difficult. I'm fine with one if I was going one or the other. I think I lean Taylor just based on the matchup, although Kyle Shanahan is such a donkey. He could leave Cooper Kupp wide open all day long. So I think those are kind of like where I'm leaning for the receivers. I do like Tyler Lockett. This is a matchup that for some reason the Cardinals have been completely unable to guard him. If you look at his matchups with this team, it's always been Lockett that's doing the damage here. And then Wesley, I think he's not going to score 2 touchdowns again today. So I kind of lean on Kirk and Ertz here. Kirk and Ertz, each of them 30-plus targets over the last 3 games. I'll say that again. Christian Kirk and Zach Ertz, each 30-plus targets over the last 3 games. Since DeAndre Hopkins went down, we have the questionable nature of James Conner's health. I think it's going to be a big day for Kirk and Ertz here, and I'm going to try and get them into my lineups.
Oh, so many things. Happy birthday to Mangone. He says it's not his birthday, but it obviously
Holy
is.
Shit.
Hit the like button, send him a DM, man. Happy birthday, January 9th. That's incredible. A couple things you mentioned there. One, going back. So Jonathan Taylor versus Kupp, I think is going to be interesting for cash games. I think people will try and jam that in and make it work. I'm not against it. I actually side the other way, though. I think the one thing about Kupp, the Ravens did basically triple team the guy, and he went 6 for 95 and 1 in his worst game in the last 5. Like, that floor ceiling combination is incredible. I love the Jonathan Taylor play this week, but if I was picking one, I would go that way because I think there's just so many of those other running backs that can get there and maybe even get to JT when it comes to raw points. It's hard to find that floor ceiling combo that Cooper Kupp has. I also would only really use Kupp, talked about it earlier, in my game stacks. I don't want him as a one-off outside of something like cash games or a main high dollar, smaller field type build. Lastly, you forgot the bit. Like, everyone's going to be like, JT Hayes just made up these parents, John and Miriam. Like, there's no way though that is actual names from Yugoslavia or wherever you tell people these people are from and you know their history and their language and you're a full linguistics major. But don't forget about John, guys. It's John Brown. It's Amon-Ra, Equanimous, and Osiris, their brother at Stanford University. That's their father. And if you don't know him, and the reason Amon-Ra St. Brown is so strong is because his dad is a 2-time Mr. Universe, John Brown. I don't even know why his last name isn't St. Brown and theirs is, but he's a 2-time Mr. Universe. Look him up. 3-time Mr. Olympia. This guy's a beast, and that's why Amon-Ra St. Brown is your guy at just 6,800. Go ahead.
I can answer that because the St. Brown is a combination of his mother's last name and his father's last name. Wanted to give his mother a little love. Her last name, her maiden name, something with an ST. Look it up. You'll find them right.
Miriam Steyer, but they just stole the ST and threw it in there. Like, that's incredible. So the nuggets you're getting on this show, and we're not at 300 likes yet. I told you guys this last week. Stop saving your likes for Big T. Big T won 70,000 last night. He's going to be okay. We love our boy Big T. He's got the money. Give us the like. That's the trade. Okay. He's happy with it. I promise you. Let's get these likes rolling early on. Let's talk about some of these other wide receivers. I know that AP's over there dying laughing. He tried to start us off with Antoine Wesley. This guy's been eating the Christian Kirk lunch the last couple of weeks, actually. So he's a good play. I think there's some other guys, though. We talked about Taysom. Can you play some Deontay Harris? We talked about some of these other guys down the board that you can go to. Darnell Mooney, a little bit more expensive, but Allen Robinson, 4K. Grayson for Tampa Bay. Cyril Grayson came in. Obviously, don't need to get into the AB shenanigans, but that made up for him coming into the game. So AP, other guys down in the value play section that you want to talk about this week.
Yeah, let me talk a little bit about my favorite value. So it's another running back, RB1, opposing wide receiver 2 or 1, and he's a value. This guy, so, we're relying on Trevor Lawrence to get it done, but all Marvin Jones needs is 4 catches for $500,000 bonus. Like right now what he's doing. He's texting him, hey, good morning. Maybe he's like the NFT bro, send him a GM. And, when they're on the way to the game, he's, bro, hey, get me the ball. I 4 catches. I mean, man, he's going to be like they have nothing to lose. $500K bonus, that's all on their mind. So he needs 4 catches. So, the targets are going to be there. I actually tons of interest in Marvin Jones here against the Colts. I do got to take a few steps back. I still like Wesley, but I like JT Hayes' comments there. I mean, you have to think TD regression might be coming. He had 2 last week and 1 the week before. Still going to be in my pool for sure, but it wouldn't surprise me at all. Then Grayson, so our a little narrative, has nothing to do with anything, but Big T, his son's name's Grayson. He dusted me in basketball, and this Grayson guy looks good for the Bucks stepping in for AB. So there's my narrative on why I'm going to play Grayson for the Bucks today. No, 4-4. I think it is a good play. The Bucks want to get a win here. They have very little running game. Like if they have to give Lev Bell like a lot of touches, that they're just going to be spreading the ball around to these running back or to these receivers. So tons of interest there. And then on the other side, I mean, I got to take one more shot on DJ Moore. He's been very hurtful, and it's more so like Sam Darnold's been hurtful, but gosh, this guy's so good. Betting on a little bit of his talent, and hopefully Sam Darnold can get him the ball. Maybe you guys can talk me off of him, but I have him on my list right now. And then Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. Obviously, that's a game stack I like. I side with Tyler Lockett there. We always talk about flag play on one of them, or play both. Do whatever you want, but
no, don't.
I really want to side.
Take a stand. Tell them. Don't
take a stand.
You play one or the other. It never works.
You can do what you want, but what I want is Tyler Lockett here. So I just think it's going to set up. The game's going to set up really well for him. Zigzag approach. It's been DK Metcalf. Now it's going to be Tyler Lockett. Well, that's kind of where I'm at, keeping it fairly simple at the receiver position.
The worst thing to ever happen was Osimo shipped the Millie with the 4-man Seattle stack that had both Lockett and Metcalf to make people think that's a good stack. But in the reality, Lockett had 12 DK points and just fit the build on whatever he got to, whether it was a late swap or started with it. The point is there was 40 receivers on the slate that beat 12 points that could have been in there instead of Lockett. So it doesn't make it work or make it right, people. That's all I'm here to tell you. Don't stack the two of those guys together. Play Penny with Lockett or play Everett with Metcalf. I don't care how you do it. Lockett and Metcalf literally pretty much never, once I think in 21 or 31 games or something, that they both got 24 each. And that was still not enough. So either way, roll it today. Yeah, Lockett has some incentives out there. A couple other guys, so we're brought up. I like the Cooks call we had earlier. Definitely in on Brandon Cooks. I'm actually willing to play him more than you guys probably, because I'm going to play Davis Mills with Cooks and Deontay Foreman and do a little 3-man stack there where you can just start with that for cheap. A way to get unique with the Deontay Foreman chalk, still get a guy in Cooks that I like, and then build it out from there. So I like that one. A couple others, Laquan Treadwell and Marvin Jones both make some sense. I'm not stacking them, but one or the other. Going down, Cyril Grayson, you brought up. We're trying to think of some others, but most of them fit in within the game stacks. If you get some, people wonder, if KJ Osborne has a big day, how did you get there? Well, if you don't play the Chicago, Minnesota stacks, you probably don't end up on any KJ Osborne. But if you do, that's how he ends up in your builds. And then people say, I would have never got to that. Well, the way to get to it is to stack that game, and then you'll land on some of that. So that's why it happens. Definitely interested in that. Debo, I think, is good. It's a pivot off some of the guys at the top. I'm going to be playing Jimmy G, so he makes sense up there. And then was brought up our guy, MYG fan, in the chat earlier, always around. Love that guy. He brought up Pittman. If you're not playing Jonathan Taylor, give Pittman a try. I don't disagree. I think that's a great call. I think it's a way you can get different. He works on FanDuel as well, because typically when he has his big games, it's due to touchdowns and not like a 10 for 150 type game. It's more of like a 4 for 110 with 2 touchdowns. That's kind of what we want to see. So works on both sites, but even better on FanDuel, I'm saying, when that happens. So I like that. JT Hayes, anybody else you want to talk about at wide receiver before we move to the tight end position?
Justin Jefferson is a guy that I like as a cheaper pivot off of Cooper Kupp there. And then my guy Felix, I love him. He's in the chat, says DJ Moore needs 14 catches to get to some incentive. So that means that if he got that today, he would equal like his last 9 games. So I'm going to be off of DJ Moore in that quarterback situation. I know he's great, AP, but God, I can't watch those guys trying to get him the ball. And then Marvin Jones, he should get the 4 catches. The issue is I think Trevor Lawrence's ADOT is like a half a yard. So he gets 4 catches for 9 yards, and then he probably takes his shoulder pads and shirt off and streaks off the field with his $1 million bonus away from the stench of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Probably not going to go there unless I absolutely need a last piece at that price point.
Yeah, what was this thing I saw today? Trevor Lawrence only needs like 82,000 yards to get to Tom Brady all time. So load him up. Like, he's got an incentive there, right? He's getting close. So, little things along the way. You got to keep your eye on all of these incentives. But we're pushing for 250 likes. I absolutely love to see that. I like, a few of the other plays you brought up. The DJ Moore one, I think people will use them more this week than most. So we'll say that much. But let's move on. Let's go to tight end. Zach Ertz at the top, just picking up all the steam, both sites, DraftKings and FanDuel. He fits the mold. Cole Kmet for 3,400. And then after that, it really tails off. So AP, Zach Ertz, Cole Kmet. What else are you doing here at the position this week? We've got some incentive conversation around Gronk to have. I mean, his are big incentives. So we can talk about that right quick too before you start. 500K for like less than, 80 yards or something. And it's 500K for 6 catches, 500K for 3 touchdowns. I don't think the 3 touchdowns are happening today, but I could absolutely see Brady click him up with a quick millie in the first half alone. So what are your thoughts on Gronk, Ertz, Kmet, and then what else do you like here?
I like Gronk quite a bit. I mean, because those incentives are in reach. I mean, is it unreasonable to imagine a script where first quarter, Gronk, they lands in the end zone, and then maybe somehow he goes into halftime with 2 touchdowns. Like, they're going to see that and be like, hey, you need 1 more and you're going to hit all your bonuses. So I don't he has multiple 2 touchdown games. So and they have an applied team total of almost 26. So, I mean, if they got 4 touchdowns in the game, it's not unreasonable to think that Brady's going to target like his best bud quite often. So yeah, tight end is tough for me this week. I don't naturally want to pay in this mid-range, but it's hard to cross Gronk off the list. Same goes with Zach Ertz. Trust me, take a little bit of time out there and try to find one of these 2,500 guys. I've been doing it because I'm if I could get one of these guys that's going to see the field and, get some playing time because the resting starters, whatever. Whew, man, it's tough going. So that leads me back to the Zach Ertz, back to the Rob Gronkowski type plays. Very high on those 2 guys. And then, one guy that I did find a case for one guy, but I still don't feel good about it. But you brought up Davis Mills, Tambo. What I would do if I'm you is go Davis Mills, Brandon Cooks, and Brevin Jordan. Very risky, but he's a cheap 2,700 price tight end over on DraftKings. Guy's shown some type of upside, and then run it back with Deontay Foreman or however you want to stack that game up. But I could make a case for Mills if I stacked him with two guys, Cooks and Jordan. Cheap tight end. I don't feel good about him though at all. So I'm not going to play Kmet. I haven't been playing him. He always gets some ownership, and I think I'd rather just go to like Gronk or Ertz. Snyder brought up Mark Andrews on the show last night. That game looks like it's going to, weather's going to be bad. Doesn't look like a fun game at all. But obviously, him and Huntley had a great connection going on. So curious to see what you guys have to say about Andrews, who's 7.5. I mean, man,
it's just expensive, right?
Massive price tag. Yep.
Yeah, there's incentives. They need to win the game. Everyone knows when they played the last time it was with Huntley. He was even getting them with Josh Johnson, but with Huntley, it was against the Packers where Andrews went off, right, and broke the slate. So, I think people expect that to happen again. It definitely could. It'll be a different roster construction. I'll say that. Like for me, I've just got, Kittle, who's going to be in some of my stacks, who's expensive there. I don't hate the Gronk play and not going to have a bunch, but I just think that's a spot. Could be almost like Dallas last night. We're not going to reminisce here, but Dallas, you thought they're going to do nothing and then they go for it all. And that's kind of the situation here with Tampa Bay, and they're still playing for at least something. So I'll say that much there. JT Hayes, what do you got at the tight end position this week?
I think there's several of these tight ends that are just getting too many targets to try and get away from. Ertz is one of them with Jimmy Garoppolo back. Kittle is the other. I think Kittle's going to come in somewhere around 5% ownership, maybe not even that high at his price of 6.7. Prefer him to Debo. I'm not going to pay 8.5 for Debo on this slate against the Rams, but I do like a little bit of Kittle here. And I think you guys mentioned Gronk. I'm not going to get to Andrews in that game in that weather. Understand the connection he's had, but 7.5 now. I mean, at 7.5, I think the choice you're making is I'm going to play Andrews over Justin Jefferson. No, I'm going to play Justin Jefferson. I'm going to pay down a little bit at tight end. And then once again, let's get to 300 likes for Mangone's birthday. One time for his birthday. Hit him up in the Discord DMs. Happy birthday once again, Mangone.
Yeah, I've got an incentive for myself, actually. We've got 500 watching and 229. I'm supposed to get to at least 60% coverage on the season, and we're rounding out. It's week 18, 5-10 minutes to go here. So we need to get like 275 likes at least to get me somewhere in this range as the numbers are there. So let's go for that number for now, 275 as we round it out. A couple other guys. I like the Brevin Jordan call to add into my stacks there, AP. I like that you brought that one up. The chat was talking about Freiermuth because Deontay's out. Deontay was activated back. Now, I'm not saying Freiermuth's a bad play. Just because of that, I think he still could fit in. But just to give you an idea, so you can roll him out there. He makes some sense. Gerald Everett, I talked about in my Russ Wilson stacks. And then other guys just randomly, but Conklin, like I talked about in that game, you're not going to get to him unless you're probably playing that. But I'm stacking these tight ends into my stacks, right? I'm not going to just play them I'm not going to play a Cole Kmet one-off today. In most cases, I'll play them just inside of those stacks. So I definitely like that. 300 likes from Mangone and the St. Brown family. Yeah, if we can get to 300, that would be great. But let's talk about defense real quick, AP. I'll flip it over to you. At the top, it looks like it's going to be the Browns, the Bills, Vikings, some of these. And then, of course, Washington football team's getting a little bit of love as well. What are your thoughts over at the defense position this week?
Yeah, I mean, the fun conversation each and every week talking about defense. Again, I'm going to find ways off the chalk here. I mean, it looks like this Steelers, Ravens, Bengals, Brown, like these games, low totals are going to get much of the ownership at the defensive spot. I don't have any strong convictions yet. Honestly, like I want to find a defense that has some sort of upside where, a team, like think about Davis Mills. He's going to be chucking. In my opinion, like if he's throwing the ball a ton here, that's going to give some upside to Tennessee. I mean, we like the idea of a pick six, scoop and score. I just think we have more upside looking at those defenses than some of these other ones. But, the other thing too is like with defense, I never have a problem playing a defense against Big Ben. He's just a statue in there in the pocket, gets sacked a lot. So I'm looking at the Ravens for sure. But honestly, at this point in time, I have no defenses on my player pool list. So I'm kind of just feeling it out. But one thing I'm going to do is not play 30% owned Browns defense this week for sure.
Yeah, that one's a little bit much for me. I always say the same thing. I'm surprised Baltimore, I'm a huge Ravens fan. I'm surprised they get to be in the pool because they actually don't really have a defense. So I'm not sure what that is that they're talking about there by putting them in. But I agree with you. Going against Big Ben is definitely an option. The Bills are the more expensive one for me, JT Hayes. We talked about this on Thursday. More expensive and higher owned, but at least that I could still get behind a little bit just because it is the Jets. They always are chucking. There's a spot here where the Bills put up 30 and just break the slate. So I'm never going to go all in on it. I space it out quite a bit. Very high variance position, as we always talk about. But just in general, I think they're the one that's at the top that makes sense. What do you like here, JT Hayes, at the defense position?
Yeah, RR and R Investments is asking if anyone's interested in Saquon Barkley. No. I will take the Washington football team defense. I think they get to play around with some Jake Fromm. That should be at least an interception and probably at least one pick six for the Washington football team, like the Bills call. And then Indianapolis talked about Trevor Lawrence's tasty A-dot of like a half yard. I think the Colts at 3-8 are another high-owned defense that we could see. And even though it's not the birthday boy Mangone, welcome to DC joining us here.
DC's birthday too?
Minutes.
DC's in the building. What's up?
Yeah, happy birthday, DC. Let's go.
Not my birthday, but it feels like it. Week 18. I'm excited for the slate. I missed the Millie Maker show last night with a little headache, but good to go.
Good to go for today. Got that Chiefs W. Must be feeling good about that. It was a tough one to come by, but it happened in the end. You got to be happy there. Give us your take, man. What's the DC take of the slate?
Week 18 is tough because there's so much uncertainty, right? Like in any given NFL slate, and especially in week 18, that I think my feeling could be like embrace it, right? Chase the uncertainty and just like embrace that. But like there's certain plays, and you guys have covered a lot of it on the show. I've been watching the whole thing where you have to take some certainty, right? On week 18, and like I think the majority of any given lineup spot should be filled with what you think are kind of the certain plays. You take the shots elsewhere because you're not going to hit on the full wild card lineup, right? Of 8 players. So I don't know. So many unknown situations, but you got to read the tea leaves correctly. I mean, to me, like the Rams and 49ers game is going to have multiple pieces that get there. I know you guys maybe aren't quite as high on that game as I am, but yeah, I love week 18 and excited for it. So just wanted to jump on and say hi.
I appreciate it. I like that. Do you have a Kirk Cousins take right quick? We got to get out of here soon, but just curious if you had a Kirk Cousins take. He's your boy.
I'm not going to play Cousins, but I'm going to play a lot of Justin Jefferson in particular. Needs 124 yards to set the Vikings single season record, which is held by Randy Moss, right? Like that's a big deal. It's within reach. Cousins coming back to play a meaningless week 18 after missing week 17 due to COVID. Cousins also playing for a new contract. Zimmer has said they're going to come out and play full go, right? Zimmer's last game in the Vikings uniform. So, yeah, I think this team will move the ball. Dalvin Cook playing for his dad. I mean, every single sign that you can look at from the Vikings says that they're going to go out and play their best. They're at home. I don't know. I don't think a Vikings-Bears shootout is out of the question.
Yeah, I really love that. I've got so many takes of the week. I'm going to pen you down, I should say, for a Justin Jefferson play of the week, because that narrative you said too, like that's a big record to get. We saw it all weekend, like last night. You saw it with the Tony Romo record for Dak. They went out and continued to go get it. We saw it with Devontae Smith. They just kept lining him up. We're getting him that rookie record and setting that.
He knows all about it too. Yeah. Justin Jefferson, I saw interviews with him this week. There's like a famous shot from Minnesota sports history of Kevin Garnett and Randy Moss, right? They switched jerseys, basketball, football, and Justin Jefferson's interview talking about switching jerseys with Anthony Edwards, the Timberwolves' young star guard. So it's like he knows. Justin Jefferson's like a historian, he's a fan of the game. He knows exactly what he needs. Cousins coming back. I think he is a very good bet to get those 124 yards.
And it was just not that many weeks ago when he got 100 yards in the first quarter. So if you think it's, 124 sounds like a lot right now.
I mean, not for Justin Jefferson. You can throw the ball every play if you want. That's the thing. He's always open.
Oh, when you can get as open as that, you're in good shape. AP, ready to go here with the off the chalk play of the day. You got your off the chalk play of the day ready to roll?
Yeah, I'm with you. Like I'm leaning on some of these incentives because I just think, especially in games where it's like it doesn't really matter. Look, Tyler Lockett needs 2 touchdowns in this game to get a $1.2 million bonus. I just think Russ is gonna I already liked him without the incentive. The incentive just does it for me. So Tyler Lockett, his price, everything about this game, very stackable. He's already has 2 touchdowns in a game earlier this season, multiple other games with opportunity for 2 touchdowns if they let Russ cook. And I think they do a little bit here. So Tyler Lockett for me, play of the day.
Yeah, I like the Tyler Lockett call. I like his first name as well. I like about 10 to 15 more likes as well while we give these last few plays. JT Hayes, what do you got for your off the chalk play of the week?
Yeah, man, I was going to go with Justin Jefferson, and DC pops in, makes the case for him. Like I was going.
That's rather rude. Jumping on here like 5 minutes to go in the show and taking your play. So
it's fantastic.
Listen, you know who your play is, man. Come on.
Yeah, we know.
What's that?
You know who you're playing. Is he $6,800?
Yeah, well, I got to go with a backup, but it's a close backup. It's a close second. It's the son of the strong man. I hope DeAndre Swift is out, but even if not, I think he gets 12 to 15 targets. Let's run it back one more time. He's got 5 games in a row with 8+ catches, 5 games in a row with over 60 yards receiving. Amon Ra St. Brown.
I love it. And I'm going to go. It's not necessarily leverage because I got no problem playing them together, but I'm sticking right where DC's at. I'm actually going the Dalvin Cook play. 7,800 is extremely cheap. Waiting for an opportunity like this, almost no ownership in comparison to all these 6K guys up there in the balanced builds. He's just a little bit more money. I talk about it all the time. At Best Buy, there's a TV for $9.99 that's a great deal. There's a way better TV for like $12.99 if you just shell out the money. So there's lots of great 6K running backs. You spend just a little bit more, you get Dalvin Cook, who's one of the best running backs in the entire league. And that's really going to set the game off where you can see that game stack be the one that ships the millie today. So that's it for this week, guys. Of course, stick with us. We almost hit the 300 likes. Hit us on the way out. We've got the Morning Wood coming up next. Holden, Big T, and Hoop. Stick around for that. Lots more news to come out. For DC, who joined us late, for AP, and for my boy JT Hayes, I'm ToeTagginTambo. Simon, get us out of here.
What is up, you guys? We are super excited to announce our new partnership with SaberSim. For those of you who aren't familiar, SaberSim is a DFS optimizer and projection system used by some of the top DFS players in the industry. It provides some of the best ownership and scoring projections on the market, and now you will have a chance to bundle it with an RPS subscription for our low price. Big T, how dope of a deal is this?
This is going to be the best deal in the industry. It's going to get you all the content on the site and the optimizer. So you got a nice price. This also includes the bet side, which we have one of the best bets teams in the industry. Also, the optimizer is going to be accessed directly on the site now. And eventually, we're even going to have the core plays directly on the optimizer within the next couple of weeks. So another really nice bonus.
All right, so why don't you show us how quick you can knock out over 150 lineups using the SaberSim optimizer?
Yeah, this optimizer is going to be very nice on the site. Tons of new options. If you want to look at the screen, we got SaberSim projections, RPS projections right next to each other. You have options like being able to do the average of both, which is nice. Obviously, I like the Runpure projections, but the SaberSim projections are awesome too, and it gives you a nice balance between the two to form some of your own opinions, which I love to do. As you scroll to the right, you got other stuff like ownership projections, which comes from SaberSim. Eventually, we might have more of our stuff on the site too, but SaberSims are awesome. Gives you another data point when you're building lineups. And then as you work your way to the right, we got the ability to see upside of players, 85th percentile, 99th percentile. You can see the upside of some of these guys. And then just to prove the point, you can build 150 lineups very quickly. Go up here to build lineups. Gives you a bunch of cool options that we'll go through as we start getting used to this and putting content out. But you got GPP, cash, multiplier, satellite option. For this, we're just going to do GPP. I'm going to show you how quick we can make 150 teams, but also you got single entry in here, 3 max, 20 max, just a ton of cool options to show you guys as we get going. How many entrants are in the field you're playing, put that in there. Bunch of cool stuff like correlation, ownership, variance with the sims, tons of stuff that you're going to be able to use. I'm going to run 150 teams here and show you guys just how quickly you can run 150 with this optimizer. So as you can see, 150 teams took me about 30 seconds. And once you have more time, you can play around with the numbers, really get them where you want them. But I was just trying to show how convenient it is. You got your optimal team right here. Shows you how much salary you used, projected score, SaberSim score, which kind of shows you your upside type thing. Tons of stuff on here. Total ownership, 267%. So a chalky team right there. But again, as we get more comfortable with the system, you'll be able to tinker a lot more. And tons of stuff up here too. If you want to play an upside team, you can click 99th percentile. It's going to run again for you. Give you an upside team here, more upside. Tons of options though. As we get going, we're going to do tons of content. All of our shows are going to be using this. I'm going to be using it personally to build my tournament teams. Super excited to get going with SaberSim and get this partnership going to make the content we do even better going forward.
And just a reminder, you can access all of the Runpure premium content for all sports, along with SaberSim Optimizer and Projection System for the low monthly price. Don't wait, sign up now, and of course, let's run pure.
Week 18, it's the Wood Show. It's Big T, it's Hoop. Big T won some money last night, but he does not get a congratulations for me because it was only 5 figures and not 6. Hoop is here trolling me, telling me that Kendrick Bourne's a good play today. What's going on, gentlemen? No, he's not a good play. You just said you're rostering him, though.
That's Simon. That's Simon's play. I said I have to stack the Patriots in this contest with Mangone. Yeah. So I mean, that's your territory. Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar, dudes like that. So I can't wait to get to that game. All right.
No, not good. This week. Tone Dog, what's going on? What's happening in your world? Way to go.
I like that name, Tone Dog.
Yeah. I don't know about the Tone Dog nickname, but
Hoop likes it.
I mean, it was good. Basketball was good. Football was not good for me. I faded Dak and didn't think Dallas would play their starters as much as they did. So that did not go well for me. But basketball went good, and I don't know. I like Week 18. You got to do a lot of guessing. Sometimes you guess wrong, like yesterday. Sometimes you guess right. Hopefully that'll be today.
Do you guys have anything as far as bankroll, maybe pulling back or even a little bit more?
No, we don't do that. At least I don't do that stuff. I hate when people say that stuff too. Everyone's playing the same slate we are.
Mm-hmm. Who
beat them?
No, I mean, play the same, but maybe change the types of contests that you enter. Like if you're like a cash game player, like maybe, focus more on like GPPs just because there is so much uncertainty. You don't want to, tie your, what's the saying? Tie all your horses to one saddle or I don't know how, those things, but you just don't want all your eggs in one basket. There you go. So you want some other options because things could go wrong in a hurry this week. And like, we'll talk about obviously the inactives are going to be huge today because there's certain to be some random pop-up guys that sit.
It's like my pet peeve too, Holden. I know Hoop doesn't like this too. When these guys come on and all across the industry, like, oh man, it's tough slate tonight. Oh, I hate this slate. I don't know if I can play this slate. Blah, blah, blah. And then, I mean, I hate when they whine like that about the slate.
Just your pet peeve. Just Tony.
I just don't like it. Like
this isn't a cash game slate. You can't play cash games on this slate because it's so gross. Like, no, you can. Like Tony said, everyone's playing the same slate, so it really doesn't matter. But yeah, in terms of Week 18, there's certainly edges. I mean, if you dig super deep and follow the news all throughout the week and all the way up to locks. Like I said, we're going to get more news here, maybe during this show, certainly on the Up to Lock show with Holden, JSU, and who's the third with you guys this week?
Dunkel will probably stop by again.
Stop in. Yeah. So, I mean, you guys are, the best in the industry at breaking down that news as it comes. You find the nuggets, JSU breaks it down. So, I mean, it's super important today. I mean, very, very important.
Tony, if I were to say to you, Week 18 bankroll pussies or Tone Dog, which one do you like less?
I like Tone Dog less for sure. I'm not big on the Tone Dog nickname.
Okay.
I'm pretty high on Tone Dog. I like Tone Dog.
You like the Tone Dog too? I'm not huge on the Tone Dog.
So gentlemen, hey Hoop, how many likes are we looking for here? I got to get the stream up, so I'm gonna put you on mute for a second. But how many?
Yeah, I mean, last week we had a ton of momentum building up throughout the show. We had our new word introduced, Minyaka, which we're gonna build on this week as well. But the numbers got big last week, so we're shooting for the moon today. We're going 700.
Okay, Minyaka,
and it just got one easier because I didn't hit the like yet. So we're at 308.
So did I. Now we're at 309. So we're absolutely rolling right now.
Yeah.
Okay, I am going to write down: do not call Tony Tone Dog, but use Minyaka.
I shouldn't have said that I don't like it either, because now everyone's going to want to call me it.
Oh,
yeah,
no,
that was a mistake. I made a crucial mistake there saying that.
At least for this show, we can refer to him as Tone Dog.
Well, Simon says +1, so he likes it.
Mm-hmm.
Then again, he likes.
I think I even like T-Dog better or something. I don't know about the tone. I never liked tone when people call me Tone.
What about T-Bone? Anybody call you T-Bone?
I don't know.
Yeah, let's just call you Tony or Big T. And
yeah, I mean, Tony works.
I think I'm actually I think I'm like the only person that actually calls Big T Tony. Like no one else refers to him as Tony except who?
Not even AP.
It's almost all Big T. I think. I mean,
yeah,
mistakes with Big
I can't
T.
think of really anybody that does that much. I don't know.
All right,
and then on the opposite side, like Tony, Big T literally refuses. I don't think he's ever said my first name before, even around my family.
I never call anyone.
I don't even know your first name.
Really?
I know it. It's Mike.
No.
I didn't know it for like 6 weeks. I just couldn't remember.
There's no way I've ever said Mike for sure.
No. Yeah. We've been
it just
around
doesn't
people
sound right to me. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not what I look at him as. I just see Hoop.
Nicknames are always better, no matter what. Like family, friends, everything. Like nicknames, way better than actual names.
Come on, Holden. Tony hates dogs. The combination of him with dogs. You know what? You're right. So I'm not going to call him that. What was your nickname growing up, Hoop? And as you can tell, very, very eager to get into this slate right now. What was your nickname?
It was
you are kind of whiny about this slate, by the way. You're leading the whiny charge.
Right. I asked you a question. That was it.
Yeah, you can phrase it a little differently. Like, hey, we're going to have a lot of time to bullshit because there's a lot of games that we can cross off. It's still a good slate.
Okay.
In terms of the nickname,
because there's a ton of games to cross off. Okay, does that make you guys feel better now? Are we all better? Hoop Dog, what was your nickname growing up?
No, it's like super annoying, my nickname, because everyone just played off of Petta, and a lot of people just kind of parlayed that into Peta. So it was my nickname was Pita Bread. So it's as bad as it gets. They call me Pita Bread.
Hoop is way better.
Yeah.
Why would you even admit that on this show? You know, you guys are done.
I'm an honest person. I'm not going to hide any of the facts. It was Pita Bread, and it was just the worst. Any play on Pita, I mean, it just it sucks.
Simon said +1 on Pita Bread.
Tone Dog, Pita Bread, and the asshole.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, we'll pick up so many viewers today, Holden, if you stick to calling me Pita Bread and Tony
Pita Bread.
Big Tone.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. But if you like either one of the nicknames, hit the like button. So here we go. We got 3 bad weather.
Or Tone Dog. Sorry, not Big Tone. Tone Dog.
Tone Dog. Yes.
Yeah.
And I apologize for calling him that. 3 bad weather games. Buffalo's got 20+ mile an hour winds with gusts in the 30s. Cleveland 20 miles an hour with upper 20s gusts. I'm not as worried about Baltimore with the wet. But what I can say is that I think there was a game this year with Ben Roethlisberger where he didn't look great in the wet. So
was it the wet? Are you sure it was the wet?
It was
part?
The wet and the arm.
He looked good in the dry.
And the fact that he's really, really bad.
I mean, Deontay Johnson's back though, so maybe he can hit him 7 or 8.
That might get him over the top. Get Deontay back. Another guy he can throw it 3 yards to.
His arm's going to improve just from that. Oh boy. Well, if we're going to cross games off, let's see what you guys think of Cincinnati and Cleveland. Tony, you want to do anything from this game? Maybe the Browns defense. I can't imagine Samaje Perine has a ceiling. Is there anyone in this game that's interesting?
Yeah, I mean, not really. It just depends on, again, what you think. You got to play the guessing game with some stuff. How much will they play Chubb? I mean, you're not going to play Chubb, but you could play like DeEarnest if you think Chubb's not going to play that much, which I don't. So I'll definitely have some DeEarnest. Browns D on DK will be popular. FanDuel, where they're priced up a little more. I mean, Cleveland's D looked horrendous last week. I don't see why they would look better today. I know Cincy's going to play their scrubs today, but still, like, Cleveland's defense quit last week. So I don't know why people think just because the matchup, the defense still has to play. I mean, they're not just going to get, I don't know. I don't like Cleveland's D as much, but on DraftKings, they are cheap, and cheap defenses go a long way, as we all know, especially this week. So you can play them there. I'm not going to play them on like FanDuel. I hope people play them on FanDuel at 4,500 or whatever they are, because I really don't think they're a good play. Besides that, though, I mean, the running backs, you can play P. Ryan. You can play whoever the other dude is for who's the other dude?
Just P. Ryan, whoever.
Chris Evans, maybe,
Yeah.
if you think P. Ryan doesn't play as much. DeEarnest. But, yeah, I mean, nothing else from me here.
Nothing else. Hoopage, you got anything here?
Yeah, not much to add. I will say, just overall, DraftKings did a good job, and FanDuel, of getting these backup running backs priced up, so we didn't have any like free squares. And building roster, it's not as easy as you would think. Week 18, where we just assume we have a bunch of value. Like they got these guys up, so you have to make some decisions. Do you want to pay 5.3 for P. Ryan? Probably not, when we have some really good running backs right in that 6K range that we'll get to throughout the show. Even Chris Evans is up to like 4.4K, so good job by the sites getting these prices where they belong this week. That kind of takes all these guys out of play. I mean, this is, to me, one of the easier games to avoid. You got the Browns on DK at 2.6, and like Big Tone said, or Tone Dog said, those cheap defenses go a long way. So yeah, give me the Browns defense. I'm not messing with like Chubb or anyone. I mean, this is a team that had playoff hopes, and they ran into some unfortunate situations, obviously, with guys being out, and they have, I think, maybe the worst quarterback in football in Baker Mayfield. So yeah, not much here.
He's back.
This is
right?
a key game too, Holden, where we need the inactives, because I could still see like even Chubb being inactive or something. Where, like, say Chubb and Hunt are both inactive or something, like DeEarnest would become like the best play of the slate to me if that happened. But obviously we got to wait. And that makes it, if Chubb's active, it makes DeEarnest an even better play for me, just because no one's going to play him. And I just don't see Hunt playing that much. The Bengals are going to play their backups. I don't know.
Well, that kind of leads into the next one, because Dante Foreman's going to be chalk. Let me ask you this more than anything. Week 18, is anybody, like, how many guys can be chalk besides for Taylor and Kupp this week?
That's where it gets interesting, I think, because everyone keeps talking the Kupp JT talk, and it's not as easy as people think to play both.
That's a very important point. Like I was kind of alluding to before, you'd assume that, okay, you're going to be able to just go ahead and play those guys this week. That's not the case. Like, if you play both of them, as it stands now, I mean, with these inactives, things could change, but as it stands now, if you're playing both those guys, you're making some significant sacrifices in your lineup.
And I think they're like, I know I do get in trouble with this, and I've said it all year. In the main slates, I get too chalky. I really think I do. So this is where I do think I might have a little bit of a leak. I'm always honest. I've said it all year. I want to play these guys, both of them. I think they're two of the guys that have something to play for too. Great matchups. I'm not saying it's right, but it's what I want to do. I think they both have massive ceilings and floors. I want that in a week like this. Hasn't worked for me the last year in these main slates. I'll clarify that, but I'm going to go back to it again today. I like both of them a ton.
All right.
Together, though, like, I actually don't like them as much separate. Like, I think a ton of people are going to play one of them. Like, everybody's almost going to play one of them. I think playing both of them, or neither of them for that matter, one way or the other, is how I'm going to do it.
I think that's the interesting one, is like fading both of them, because you're going to have to make it up.
Yeah.
You're going to have to make up a lot of points somewhere else. but you got a lot of cheap running backs.
With like game stacks, though, as far as tournaments, I think that's where you can game stack a little bit as we get to a couple of these games. Game stack it, and if the game just shoots out, that's how you could fade those two.
Okay.
We saw Osimo last week, wins the Millie, and somehow doesn't have Jamar Chase, which is kind of wild. It just shows you what a game stack can do, though.
Hoop, let's get your thoughts on this second game, because I think there's Foreman has got to be at least in the circle here. We've got Houston, who continues to feed the ball to Rex Burkhead, who's in for 20+ touches against a really good run defense, but he does get work in the passing game. We don't want to play Julio Jones, do we? But he's back. Talk to me here, Hoop. Like, outside of Foreman, and I don't even know if you're on Foreman, is there anybody else to consider from Tennessee at Houston?
Yeah, Foreman's one of those guys that's in that price range, 6-ish K range, where I think we have quite a few options. He'll have some ownership, I don't think as much. I mean, there's probably 6 as it stands now, real good, 6 or 7 real good running back plays. And we'll probably get more with these inactives that come out. I think he's right there with these guys where you want to definitely play him in a must-win spot in a dome here. Like him, I like A.J. Brown. I'm not messing with anything on the Texans side today, so it's very easy for me. It's Foreman, it's A.J. Brown, who has a good price tag, and we've seen big upside with him throughout the season. Just some monster games. Wouldn't play them together, one or the other, but I am not really playing anyone else in this game. Okay, I'll add Brevin Jordan as a cheap tight end. I think going cheap at tight end, very viable this week. He's 2.7K, and we always say it, with these cheap tight ends, it's not necessarily what they do on the field, but what it allows the rest of your lineup, what it allows you to get in the rest of your lineup. 2.7K, I'll take a chance on him, not messing with Burkhead. So Foreman, A.J. Brown, and Jordan here.
Tony, any of those guys interest you today?
Yeah, Foreman is close to a lock for me, but again, he's chalky too. So like you said, a lot of people are going to want to play him in this price range. I love him though. Tennessee obviously needs to win for the 1 seed. He got 26 carries last week. I mean, if the dude gets 26 carries again today, he's going to be on the winner. I can almost guarantee you. Yeah. So I like him a ton. And yeah, Brevin Jordan, 2,700. We always like the cheap tight ends. I like him a ton today. He's got pretty good work. Tennessee should be a good matchup. I like the spot. I'm not going to play any of the passing game. I do worry about the Tennessee just pounding the clock, pounding the run game, and not a ton of work through the passing game if Houston can't keep the pace. So I'm not going to play A.J. Brown. I'm probably not even going to play Cooks, even though he's been good. I don't really want to use salary on a Houston guy like that. So just Foreman and Brevin Jordan for me.
Okay, a little Brevin Jordan action. Hit the like button. That would be wonderful. Is everybody feeling good? I mean, you did have a big night in the NBA last night, Tony. I will give you congratulations, because that's a lot of money. 75K. Not for you, of course, but
it's a lot for me. Don't act like I'm as rich as Hoop.
I don't know. Yeah, you're not as rich as Hoop. No, that's not true.
Saddest day of my life is when I realized Big T could have more money than me. It's tough to bounce back. I mean, but $100,000, 40 times throughout the year, that adds up.
Do you think he finally caught you this year?
No chance. It's a joke. Who knows?
It was a joke, he said.
No, I don't know.
I went from like 5%. I went from like 5% of him to like 15% of him.
I love this joke fest. What a fun day. Tony, let's go right back to you here. Green Bay and Detroit. Are you on my side yet that Aaron Rodgers is going to play at least a half, or do you want to continue to belittle me?
I was wrong yesterday. I led the show saying I was wrong about Dak, but I literally see no reason that Green Bay is going to play their dudes. I think Devontae will get whatever the yards he needs, 29, 30, whatever it was, 25, whatever the number. He's going to come out. Rodgers plays a series or two most. I see literally no reason for any of these Green Bay guys to play. My opinion, again, I led the show. I was wrong yesterday about Dallas. I'm even more convinced about Green Bay, though, because they already have the seed locked up. They're literally not playing for anything. I will not be playing any of these Green Bay guys outside of Patrick Taylor, who is a 4K running back. And we don't have any of those that I've seen, at least until inactives come out. He's the Stone Men 4K. And if he somehow does get all the run versus Detroit, he's going to be the best play on the board because of what he does. It gives us this salary. So again, we got to wait for inactives. I kind of hope they don't make these guys inactive, because if Dillon and Aaron Jones are inactive, I mean, Patrick Taylor becomes the key to getting Kupp and Taylor together, the other Taylor, which I don't want. I don't want people to get the keys to that, because I want to get as low owned as I can. So I don't know. I don't think Green Bay plays, so I'm going to have a ton of Patrick Taylor. I'm going to have a ton of the Detroit side because of it. Armon Ra. How's that? What did we say? What did I say last week? Is that what they call him? I said or something?
I don't know.
Holden was laughing at me.
It's Amon Ra. You were probably like Armin Ra. I don't know.
I said that's what they call him, and then Hoop was like, "Yeah, it's his name."
No, that's what Holden goes. Holden goes, that's his name. That was a good one.
But I like it. I mean, I like these Detroit guys. Even like Khalif Raymond, a cheap price. The sneaky play, I think, is the Lions defense pivot off of like the Browns. I don't think there's any difference between the Browns defense and the Lions defense. The Browns defense is going to be very chalky. The Lions D is not. And in theory, they're still going to play a backup. They're still going to be in a similar spot for a very cheap price. So I'm actually on the Lions defense a lot more than the Browns defense. But we got to wait for news here. I hope they don't make all these guys inactive. That's my hope. All the value is going to come from this game.
They're not going to.
I'm glad. I hope not. Yeah,
they're going to play a half.
So you still just think they're just going to go and just jam them?
I think they're going to run Rodgers out there for a half.
For what?
Exactly. Why? Because he wants to. He wants to. You think?
Does he really?
No,
though?
you can't play.
Does he really though want to play? Hold it.
We already pissed you off this offseason. Yeah, we're not going to let you play even though you want to.
It's crazy.
Why do you think he wants to play though? Like, why are people so convinced that he wants to go play?
Because he doesn't want to sit for 3 weeks.
But does he really not want to sit for?
Well, what's he going to get out? What's he going to get out of? Sleepwalking through a half of against the shittiest team in football. Like, what's he actually? I see. I mean, I see what you guys are saying. I personally think, I kind of agree. I think we might see him for a half. And
you want to know why? Real quick, Hoop. You want to know why the Dallas team played their starters last night? Because they didn't like having to sit for a week. You felt like they lost all their momentum. And I think that there's something going on with that with the Packers.
Then why do so many teams fight for the number 1 seed?
Because they want to have a week off to heal up.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying. I mean,
I don't listen.
They should eliminate bye weeks and just give people home field instead.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't want to run him out there, because if Rodgers does end up getting hurt in a half, then they're completely screwed. But everything out of there and everything he's saying in the organization, I think he plays a half. I do. I don't know. Like Aaron Jones probably doesn't, which is Tony why I think Taylor is going to be a good play. But if they don't announce any of the starters out, does Taylor get the ownership still?
I don't think he gets the ownership unless both those guys are out. Okay. Yeah, I mean,
good, because I still think Taylor's a great play. All right, what do you think, Hoop?
Yeah, I mean, Lions D call is intriguing on FanDuel. Only 3.2K. I don't know if people are going to overlook that because it's a matchup with the Packers, but 3.2K, and you're getting at least a half against the backup quarterback. So I like that Lions defense call.
The punt on FanDuel is just such a freaking good play. I always do it. Even when it's like a miserable spot, like say some bad D versus a good, say they were playing their guys, Green Bay, it still just does so much for you.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great play over there. And what's the price on DK? Same as the Browns?
I mean, it's a little cheaper, but slightly cheaper.
Yeah, they're 2-4. Yeah, I don't hate that at all. You're getting at least a half against a backup quarterback. So I like that call. This Patrick Taylor situation is interesting. Aaron Jones is, listed as questionable. If he sits, Taylor does get some steam, but probably not a ton. And like I said, they priced up all these guys. He's still at 4K. He would unlock everything on this slate. So we kind of have to monitor that situation. I think he's, in play. He's getting at least a half of work. Like there's no doubt to me about that. At 4K against the Lions, he can make it happen. So I like that Patrick Taylor call. Can't mess really with any of the other guys though on the Packers. And then on the Lions side, St. Brown, I mean, just continues to get heavily targeted. And the price has come up. I think we see still comes in with pretty low ownership here because of the price increase. I think he's a fine playing shit. I mean, how do you guys let me hop on the show without the jersey? Jeez, what a mistake.
It's
I love
chaos
that
today.
it's right there still.
Yeah. Oh.
He said it was going to be right there, and it's still just right
it
there.
hasn't moved. It's got, and you know, Mrs. Hoop doesn't like things sitting around. She lets the jersey hang around. Doesn't go far from it. Actually,
Vic
this color
Fangio just got fired, so there you go. Hunter Renfrow isn't going to have as easy a time. Well, maybe, you know what? That defense is really good in Denver, but our first coach has been fired, Vic Fangio. So stick a fork in that one. No surprise. No surprise. All right, we're done with our first two games, right? Three games. Wow. Hit the like button. Let's go. Hoop. Jonathan Taylor. Yes, we all know Jonathan Taylor. If you are fading Jonathan Taylor, I want to get your thoughts on a little Michael Pittman action against the Jacksonville team that could very easily get completely shredded in this game. Any interest there in Michael Pittman today?
Oh, yeah. Wide receivers pretty difficult today. There's not a ton of standout plays. There's a lot of good plays, but there's not those guys that pop as like really, really strong plays. A guy like Pittman, I think, is a really good, especially if you're not playing Jonathan Taylor. Like going to Pittman makes all the sense in the world. You want the next high upside guy in this lineup, and it's Michael Pittman. The price is fair, 5'9". On DK, he's like 6'6" on FanDuel. I think he's a great play. Jonathan Taylor, you know the story. I mean, they have to win. He's been the best running back in football all season long. He's just smashed in these spots. They're on the road against Jacksonville, who has no incentive to win this game whatsoever. Jonathan Taylor should, be able to get whatever he wants. The prop is like over 130 some yards, massive favorite to score a touchdown. Seems very, close to a lock to get in once. It's just a matter of if he gets in more than once and then, potentially breaks the slate. You can't really say anything against him. I mean, it's wild that the best running back in football this season from a fantasy perspective and the best wide receiver in fantasy football from this season find themselves in must-win spots in pretty good matchups, and they're fully priced. That's what makes this slate, I think, so interesting. And it is hard when you start building teams, like me and Tone Dog discussed, playing Jonathan Taylor and Cooper Kupp together. It's not as easy as you would think in Week 18. Like coming into this week, I was like, okay, yeah, you just play these two guys and kind of move on. You have to make some sacrifices. So you'd think Taylor comes in with huge ownership, but I don't know if that's going to be the case because we have 6 or 7 other really good running backs, and it's hard to play him or Kupp. And everyone's probably going to have one of those guys, but going with 2 is pretty difficult. I'm not playing any Jacksonville guys. Easy fade there.
Yeah. And then Jacksonville gives up the most, or actually they're the worst team against wide receiver 1. So Tony, I'm just going to throw that out there at you too. I know you like the Colts offense with Wentz, but Pittman, can you make a case for Pittman, or is that just a fade?
This Colts team is one of the most predictable in all of football. The only way they're going to throw at all is if it's they're down or they need to do something through the air, which it means they're down. They're just not going to throw. Jacksonville's not going to be up. I don't see any reason they're going to throw, so I'm not playing them for sure. Okay. If you think Jacksonville can be competitive, though, for some reason, then I love the Pittman call. But I'm just playing JT. I mean, he's got all the incentive to win. They're going to pound him. Jacksonville's already quit. I mean, they've been the worst team in football the last 2 months. I think we're overthinking it if we don't just play JT and just – what's worst case? He scores 1 or 2 touchdowns, gets 120 yards, gets you 23 fantasy points. And, yeah, that's not great at his price, but it's also not going to kill you on Week 18 where lots of random stuff can happen. I don't see any way he's not getting you in the 20s, which I like.
Your uncle here just will not shut up. Uncle T, I want Holden Bucks slide in on the under and a half. Now, Uncle T, you said earlier in this week he wasn't going to play at all, But I also had thrown out the 3/4 thing. That's it. $100. Rodgers plays a half or more. There you go.
I like that. Get some action going during the show.
Yeah, we don't need DMs, Uncle T. We're both too old to figure out how to use those. I'll just use the old communication method, the spoken word.
That. You called him right back out. That's good stuff, Holden.
Yep. Throw it in the chat just to make it 100% Uncle T. $100. Rodgers plays a half. It'll be something else for me to watch. Because
I like the paper shuffle at the end.
Yeah, that made it official. You got the little. I like that. What do you mean? You went like
you
this?
just took this back and you're like, we're moving on now.
Yeah,
like you're on the set of the set.
You're making this operation way more official than we'd ever.
It needs to be.
There it is.
Bring it up, I'm actually looking forward. Now we'll have a good. We're gonna have a really good Wishbone, our podcast that me and him and JT Hayes and of course G Risen do. So that'll be fun to see what happens there. Uncle T just make it official. Booked. Beautiful. Uncle
there
T.
it is.
Check out the Wishbone this week. While you're at it, if you're rooting for Uncle T, hit the like button. We're at 390 right now. I want to see how high we can get just from Uncle T's name. If you are rooting for Uncle T, hit the like button, and we'll get me involved a little bit later on as well. Tony, Washington and the Giants. Can you make a case for Antonio Gibson today? I mean, and let me just say this. Ron Rivera is freaking pissed off. Washington stinks. Joe Judge is calling him out. I mean, this whole organization's a debacle, but it's a great matchup. Antonio Gibson is going to be the centerpiece of this offense. Any interest? Can I interest you any in Antonio Brown?
If you keep calling him Antonio Brown, I'm going to get more and more interested because that was funny last week.
What a mess.
But no, these are the games.
Cross them off.
Week 18, people are going to actually play a little bit of Gibson too because of his price, but this is like a week 9 play for Gibson, not a week 18 where they're not playing for anything. Giants suck. Washington sucks. No, this game is definitely a cross-off game for me.
Okay. Hoop, cross it off, or can we find something?
Yeah, the only play I see here is the cheap tight end. John Bates is $3K. I think they ruled out all their other tight ends and brought up a guy from the practice squad. He'll be in the player pool as a cheap tight end, but I'm not messing with anyone. I mean, the Giants. I mean, you look at the roster, the names, like how embarrassing to just continue to have these just shitty seasons. Like, I feel bad for the Giants fans. If you're a Giants fan, I think it's time to just separate yourself and move on. But DFS wise, this is a miserable spot. I'm not going to trust Gibson here when we have 5 or 6 guys in that price range, much better spots, things to play for. So give me all those other guys over Gibson at a similar price.
Okay, beautiful. Glad I threw it out there. Cross the game off. Nothing to talk. Both organizations are a freaking joke. You'll have all new brass with the Giants, and I'm sure that
every year we get a whole new brass with each team every year.
Yeah, every year, every year. When Giants fans had to know it was over when Gettleman drafted Daniel Jones, said, "I'm staking my job on this." At that point in time, you knew he wasn't going to last too long because and then he goes out and gets Barkley. I mean, what a disaster that whole organization is again. But that's where we are right now. Like button. Let's see how many Uncle T got here. Where are we on the like button, guys? Because I can't even see it right now.
We're at 404. It looks
404. So he got 12 likes. All right. If you're on Team Uncle T, that's it. You're done. Now it's my turn. If you think the Packers if you think Aaron Rodgers is playing a half, let's go. Hit the like button and let's make sure we get more than Uncle T. I mean, he's just Joe Judge is staying, Alex. Yeah, good job. Sure, you're going to be excited about that. What a train wreck. Can you imagine being that big of a dumbass saying the things he said in New York? Like, you can get away with that in Seattle. You can get away with that in Arizona. You can't sit there and just start mouthing off in New York, guys. Joe Judge, anybody that thought this guy was going to be a good head coach, he's got to learn you can't just be an on-field head coach when you're in New York. You got to be everything, and he's not savvy. So That's where I am with him. Tony. Chicago and Minnesota. So we know there's a lot of big names here. The question is, do you want to play any of these guys? David Montgomery seems like he's got a nice floor lately. All he does is get in the end zone. Dalvin Cook is out there. Jefferson, Cousins is back. Darnell Mooney, to me, I love the Mooney play today. He's got his boy Dalton back. So 55.5 yards. How do you not look at that? Cole Kmet for a cheap punt. That's just the guys I'll throw out there at you, Tony. Are you moving on from this game, or can you find a couple gems?
No, I mean, this game is a good game stack for me because there's a lot of pieces. You got the pivot off of Kupp to Jefferson up top. I think Jefferson crushes today. He's got, I think, a record or something he can go for. He's just going to crush, though. There was a statement about he wants to prove something today against the Bears. But you also got these Bears guys look really good today with Dalton. I mean, Mooney, like you said, JSURab is 4K and back in there. He's had an awful freaking season, just absolutely horrendous season. Cole Kmet is super cheap across the industry. All these guys are way better with Dalton in there. So I like all of them. Montgomery's the interesting one because he is going to get a ton of traction with the cash type players. And he sucks, but he scores touchdowns. The dude hasn't got more than 64 yards any game but one. I mean, he averages 2.9, 2.14, 3.33. All these just disastrous average yards per carry. But he scores touchdowns. People are going to see the overall fantasy points and play him. He's kind of the guy I'm off of a little bit. I'm not fading him. I'll have some. But I like him significantly. Like I said, I'm playing JT. I love Foreman. Some other guys, the value could open as we get inactives. Montgomery's going to be the odd man out for me, just knowing that people are going to play him. I don't like him as much. And more importantly, I like the passing game for the Bears here. Minnesota's secondary is not good. And you got three guys you can play, Mooney, JSURab, and Kmet. All really good plays with Dalton. Jefferson I like. It lines up perfectly for a Montgomery fade game stack. And I like it, though. Conklin's cheap, too, as a tight end. So you got a tight end both ways you can use. Just lots of plays in this game. And this would be the game if I was fading JT and Kupp. I think you can go here and play a lot of pieces in this game. A lot of pieces make sense.
Oop. You got a lot of pieces in this game?
Yeah, it's like the only game where two teams with nothing to play for that I have some interest in. Both these teams are still just going to play their guys, and the situations are pretty clear. And you got the Jefferson quotes and whatnot. So on the Bears, I mean, I guess overall, I agree with Tone Dog's assessment here. Like David Montgomery scares me like a little bit. Like the projections and all that, love this guy, but man, like if he doesn't find the box, like it might not. And David, he's always a guy you want, like when they're projected to maybe play with the lead. And I don't know, I just don't trust him all that much. Still going to be a guy that I'm going to keep in the player pool. He's actually, a price above all these guys that are hovering around 6K, which we'll get to in the next set of games here. So I think there's a little more risk with Montgomery than like the projection models and all that are kind of spitting out, but still a fine play. And it's one of those guys, if you fade him because, you think he's touchdown or bust, first drive of the game, he's going down there and he's pounding it right in the freaking box on your head. So fine play, but Mooney, Robinson, Kmet, I think are fine options. I can't think of the quarterback's name, the normal dude that sucks. Justin Fields, just a disaster and just takes all these guys out of play from a passing perspective. But with Dalton in there, much better passer, I think they all get a nice boost here, and they're all cheap. On the Minnesota side, I have a feeling like Dalvin Cook could just like go off today, and I'm not really going to play him all that much, but I think this could be like a Dalvin Cook game. Like Cook, Jefferson just dominate both of them. I think they both have the potential for big games here at home, just kind of finishing statement for this team. They've had injuries like everyone else in the league. I think they're better than their record indicates. They've had some unfortunate games. Their record in one score games is really bad. They like all their losses are by one score. I just think they're a better team. think they pound here. So Cook, Jefferson, I think very strong plays. But overall, like I said, this game is the one where there's two teams without anything to play for that I do have quite a bit of interest in.
Okay, that's interesting takes here. Okay, Uncle T, you're gonna owe me $100, and the public totally on my side. Totally on my side. You got like 12 likes. I got over 30. You can fade the public all you want, Uncle T. We know you're part of the public. Okay, you're Uncle Q public. That's fine, Uncle T public. So we'll be fine. And yes, you know what, Eugene, you make a good point here. Dalvin does always seem to crush the Bears at home. I guess we can go and actually look into that, but boy, that's a great, like, so there, if you're fading Taylor for Cook though, who basically he's got to get in the box 2 times and have 150 total yards today.
Yeah. I mean, I would be surprised if he crushed Jonathan Taylor today, but I wouldn't be surprised if Cook just had like a solid game today, like just a very good game. I mean, he's the guy that no one's really playing today because everyone's going to play Kupp. Everyone's going to play Jonathan Taylor. I think Dalvin Cook's ownership is super, super low. I'm not doing 150 teams today, but if you were, I'd try to get a little exposure to Cook, get over the field. And I don't think it would take a lot. Cause like I said, I just don't think his ownership is going to be all that high.
Okay. Very good. Like button. We're at 435. Hoop set the number for 700 today. Yes, it is going to be a very challenging slate, but as always, we're going to play this challenging slate. We're going to try and come up with some plays and a little bit of game theory for you so you can figure out how to build your lineups today. Next game to get into, boys, is going to be Pittsburgh and Baltimore. I'll just say this, Mark Andrews, 4 straight with at least 6 catches and 89 yards. He's got 10 targets over his last 4 games, averaging 9 for 116 and a touchdown. Huntley loves this dude. And again, here it is, Hoop. We got guys like Gronk. We got guys like Kittle. We got guys like Andrews. All these guys in amazing situations. But if you're paying up for Kupp or Taylor, maybe the tight end position gets a little neglected. So talk to me first about Mark Andrews and Huntley, because I think that's where you start in this game.
Yeah, Mark Andrews will come in with very low ownership on both sides. We have cheap tight ends. Everyone's going to be going cheap tight end today. No one's paying up at tight end. Mark Andrews will come in very, very low. Huntley is going to have some ownership, fair price on both sides, has that rushing upside. They need to win, but I mean, even if they win, they're most likely not getting in. But Huntley is 5.7 on DK, 7K on FanDuel. He's going to have some ownership on the Steelers side. It's tough, obviously, what we saw with Ben Roethlisberger, that he just can't throw it at all. Like his throws are just so bad. Makes me like a guy like Ray McCloud, though. I mean, you look at Ray the last 4 weeks, 8 targets, 10 targets. If Deontay Johnson were to be ruled out in this game, like we thought earlier in the week, he is going to play. But if he was going to be out, like Ray would have been super popular this week. Now that he's in, no one's going to be going to big Ray. So I like Ray at 3.8. I mean, 8 targets, and 10 targets in 3 out of his last 4 games. He fits what Big Ben is. Well, not his strength, but his only option is to just do these little dump off things. So it fits well with big Ray. But Huntley's a fine play in tournaments. Mark Andrews, it's going to be hard though to spend up at tight end. So if you like Mark Andrews, I think you get him at low ownership. He's broke the slate quite a few times lately. So I don't hate him in tournaments. I'm not going to mess with like Marquise Brown or any of these other dudes. So yeah, that about wraps it up.
What do you got, Tony? I feel like you're on a play from this game.
Yeah, I agree with the Hoop on the Ray. I mean, he's got a bunch of targets, and Big Ben loves to throw those underneath plays. He's also got a little bit of upside that they have him return kicks here and there. He can break one, I think, which gives him a little bit more upside than you would normally think. I like him a ton at 38. We need some savings. Freiermuth too. I think he's similar as a tight end. He just should get peppered with Big Ben wanting to throw these dump off. Baltimore, leaky secondary. I like these guys. I'm not paying salary for Najee or Deontay. Not playing Claypool till he gets a quarterback that can throw. Andrews, you can play Andrews. I probably won't play much just because He's really expensive now, but that does give him low owned upside too. I mean, we've seen it. If he has a huge game, he's going to be low owned for sure. I'm not going to spend salary on that. But again, that's a pivot off of the Chalky Cup, Jonathan Taylor. I know they're not the same position, but if you fade those guys, you play a guy like Andrews. If somehow Andrews outscores them, that's how you take down a tournament. I'm not going to do it, but it makes a lot of sense if you wanted to go that direction. For me, though, it's going to be just Ray, Freiermuth, cheap PPR, upside type guys.
Ray, Freiermuth, cheap.
I like Ray a lot. Like he should catch a bunch of dump offs. I don't think he's going to be owned. Just makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay. Like button, ladies and gents. Let's go with that. What about Deontay here? We have not gotten to that game yet. Richie Smalls. We will get to the Saints game. Very, very soon, I think, right? Yeah. We're going to the 4:00 game. So we're done with the 1:00 games. Hoop, Tony, I know that SaberSim has been working out for you guys. I don't know how many of our viewers right now know what it is or what you get when you sign up at runpuresports.com. Can one of you guys kind of take it and talk about SaberSim and how it's actually helped both of you?
Yeah, I mean, I can talk about it real quick. We've always wanted to get something integrated with the site where we can get it for the members to be able to run a bunch of lineups if they want, an optimizer that puts our content on there. And the last week, that's kind of what we've done. We're still working through a few kinks of it, but like today, I got all my cores in SaberSim. I got my player pools in SaberSim. So if you pull up SaberSim today from our site, you'll be able to see all of my core plays, all of the cash. Looks like we got some cash core plays in there I see now. I'm sure some other cores will trickle into. Like I said, we're still getting used to how to use it. But like last night, I didn't have cores on a Saturday for NBA, but I was messing around in SaberSim, and I put that Lance Stevenson as a core play in SaberSim. So if you were on SaberSim last night, you got something that even the people looking at this website didn't get, because I put my core on there. And if you got 1% on Lance Stevenson, you probably did pretty good because he went for 50 something and he was the key to the slate. So it just gives you tons of options. You can run 150 teams instantly. I love it. We're getting more comfortable with it, but definitely a huge feature to add with what we already do to make you even better at fantasy for sure.
Okay, very good. So runpuresports.com. Cool. So I'm actually on the page right now, throwing in a couple more plays for the early slate. And then, I'll hook up with JSU up to lock. That's starting, what is that, an hour from now? Right after the inactives pop out. I think we may be on the air here still for this show. And if the inactives pop out and we're still on, we'll obviously break that down as well. But we're through all the 1:00 games. So now we got the 4:25 Eastern time games. And Hoop, Gronkowski, I just think he has an absolutely monster game. The question I have for you from this game, Keyshawn Vaughn could play a Fournette role. His ribs are a little hurt, but he got in full practice this week. So my question for you is, Gronk, Vaughn, any interest in those two? Any interest anywhere else in this game?
Yeah, I think the Bucs guys are kind of going overlooked a little bit, based on their projections and whatnot. And I think they're in a pretty good spot. I do think Vaughn steps into a pretty big role here, and he's the guy I think that picks up a majority of the work. And I don't think they're going to push Le'Veon Bell here at all. So to me, it's going to be Vaughn. He got 3 targets last week, a couple receptions. He's going to be the guy I think that Brady throws to, and they like to. The way things trended for them towards the end of the season, they like to have one guy as the primary guy here at running back. And to me, I think it's Vaughn. The pass catchers, I think Mike Evans in tournaments, Gronk, like you mentioned, I don't think many people are going up at tight end. That Grayson guy, Cyril Grayson, looked pretty damn good last week. I want to mix in a lot of these these Bucs wide receivers here and get exposure to them. I mean, they're thin. They're very, very thin. Still a good team. Tom Brady's throwing the football to these guys, so I like all of them. I want exposure to all the Bucs. Their defense, I think, is in a good spot here at home, favored by 10 against the Panthers. not really going to be on the Panthers guys at all. I mean, DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson are kind of popping a little bit, but man, I'm not going down that path. Week 18 of the regular season. I mean, I get it. You know, against the Bucks, you have to pass a very tough team to run on, but still not much interest for DJ Moore or Robbie Anderson for me.
Tony, you want to take a shot on either one of these teams today, starting with the Bucks?
I mean, I like the idea of Gronk, just the incentives. He needs 7 or 8 catches. What was it? I wrote it down. 85. Yeah, 7 for 85 gets him like $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
But my issue with him is he's the same price as Kittle, or basically the same price. And Kittle is just a way, way better play to me. So that's where I struggle with Gronk. I love Vaughn. I love Grayson. Mike Evans has some incentives too. I think you can play him. I think Gronk's actually the odd man out for me with the Tampa guys, and it's more of just price point. If he was 4,700 or something, I would love him. It's just, man, he's getting up there. 6,300 is a pretty hefty price point. I mean, we can play Brevin Jordan granted, I know he's not as good, but he's 2,700. He's less than half price of Gronk at that position. I can't pay that for Gronk. It's just too expensive for me. I get it. People are definitely going to want to play him with all the incentives going his way and just playing Carolina. Not for me, though. I'm not going to play any of these Carolina guys either. Not going to play Brady because I don't think we get four full quarters, I should say. But I don't know. I love Vaughn, like Evans a little, like Grayson a little. That's kind of where I'm at.
That would be it. Okay. Like button, where are we right now? We're at 465. I don't think we're getting 700 today, Hoop. I mean, oof. We almost
Grayson
got 1,000
might be one
watching.
of the sneakier plays, not to change it back, because Grayson's like the type of guy that is usually like 3K, 3,400. He's actually priced a little bit up where I don't think people will play him, and he looks pretty good to me. So I think he's pretty sneaky in this spot.
One of those weird situations, like if he is 3.8K this week, he's probably one of the more popular wide receivers on the slate. That mid-4 range gets people thinking a little bit. So I do agree with that. Like just the fact that, you know, $600 cheaper, this guy is probably very, very popular on the slate. He still has Tom Brady throwing the ball to him. So I really like Grayson.
You're down with Grayson. Okay. Very good. 476 likes. Hoop. We're at about 1,000 watching. 481 now. So I don't think you got to be mean. You could be nice, but what are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, we got a big push at the end of the show last week. I think we get that same push here again today. We're going to get to 700. I mean, we get all the Minyaka. We got the nicknames rolling. Peter Bread here. We got Tone Dog in the studio with us today. We need a Holden nickname. I mean, you're not getting off.
They always called me Kush.
Kush.
After the Tom Cruise movie. What was that? The football one.
So we got Peter Bread, Kush, and Tone Dog taking you through the slate.
Hold on, Tony. We need to get a ISO on Tony here. What's the front of the hat here? This is kind of looking fancy.
Somebody was asking in the chat, so I had to turn around the new hats.
Ooh, that's good. You go hunting in that hat.
Go hunting
for some split tail beaver, not a deer.
All right, we still got a few more games to get to here. As a matter of fact, there's 5 of them. Hoop, New England and Miami. Do we cross this off, or is there something to do here in this game?
Is Patriots slim shot to move up? I think there is something going around about Damian Harris potentially being out. If he were to sit, obviously Stevenson gets a really big boost. You know, all the key games here are at 4 Eastern. So there's going to be a lot of roster flexibility. So not only do we need to wait for the incentive or the inactives at 11:30 Eastern, 3 Eastern inactives are going to be just as important today. A lot of people are going to set their lineups at 1 and say, you know what, I'm out. I did my work. But today you have to watch those inactives for these afternoon games as well. Because if a guy like Damian Harris is out, Stevenson's in a really good spot here to crush. Not really going anywhere else in this game. Patriots defense is good. We have a low total. But if Harris is out, Stevenson becomes a really strong play.
Okay. Tony, anything from this one with New England?
Not a ton. Definitely not from New England. I could play some Waddle. He's somewhat cheap. I got off of him last. I've had the magic touch with Waddle. Sometimes you get guys right. I've been on him for his big games. Faded him last week when he struggled. I'm back on him a little bit this week, 6,300. Devontae Parker, 4,900 too. I'm definitely on him. He got 13 targets last week for 4,900. That's a cheap price tag for a bunch of targets and going to be low owned. So that's where I'm at. Just fillers though in this game. Definitely no New England. Although I do agree if Damian Harris is out, Stevenson would become a very, very good play. There's a bunch of afternoon games today this week that have some meaning too. So usually I'm more of even the set it and forget it in NFL. I don't pivot near as much as other people do. This week, though, you need to get back to the computer before these afternoon games because you just have to make some changes based on who's in and out. And if you don't, you're just really giving up points to the field. It doesn't make sense because there's going to be a couple guys out that just we don't think are going to be out or who knows what will happen. So make sure to double check at your computer today. And that's another thing you can do with SaberSim. Load it in there, load your CSV from DraftKings or FanDuel into the SaberSim, and then rerun your numbers. Even if you got 1 or 3 teams, load it into the SaberSim over at Runpure Sports, rerun your numbers, and upload it right back to DraftKings. It'll only take you 5 minutes.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, we're going to come out with some videos this week, some short tutorial videos will start to drop where we're going to break down specific aspects of SaberSim in each sport, just short form videos, probably like 5 to 10 minutes. And yeah, we'll have a video walking through that exact process that Big Tone was talking about. Tone Dog. I mean, I like big. You like Big Tone or Tone Dog? I keep going Big Tone. Maybe Big Tone Dog.
Oh God.
Whatever you guys want.
Tony,
UTD.
I apologize. It was the wrong show to do this on. You know, if we were sitting here with JSU, he would have just glossed over it and started shitting on you for something else. But no, Hoop's holding on to this. It's not going to go anywhere. So look out for the Tone Dog.
It's going to bring us the full Minyaka, boys. Yeah. It's going to bring us the full Minyaka. Pita bread, Kush, and Tone Dog equals full Minyaka.
These are the nicknames Hoop definitely love. They're like the dad jokes. Like Hoop loves the corny nicknames.
Yeah, I used to hate dad jokes, and then I became one. So
yeah,
I like the dad jokes in their own way.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if kids like dad jokes, but you know, whatever.
That's what makes them funny, though.
They just look at you like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
You know?
What's wrong with you?
And then if you got a really little kid and you tell them about the chicken crossing the road and they just can't put 2 and 2 together, the chicken crossed the road. My kid at 3 was just like, I don't understand that. I'm like, okay, we'll keep going with that then. And I'm going to get off of that right now. And we're going to go to New Orleans and Atlanta, where Tony has his boy Taysom Hill back in the lineup today. A couple other guys I'll just throw out at you because Deontay Harris is back too. So I don't know how much we're going to want to invest in Callaway. I'm seeing a lot of Callaway out there. Russell Gage is in a wonderful spot. Kyle Pitts, who's a little banged up, has some incentives to hit there, or at least like rookie records or something like that. So, and Matt Ryan. Are you interested in any parts of this game, Tony?
I'm definitely interested in my boy Taysom because he is the best play of the slate at quarterback, at least. New Orleans has to win. He's against a team like Atlanta that he should thrive against. We get perfect conditions in a dome. Just so many check marks that he crosses. His price point is cheap. His projection is high. Easily the best play of the slate at quarterback for me. Yeah, he's going to get some ownership, but we talk about it every week. A quarterback is not going to be anything crazy. Maybe he comes in 15% or something. I think he should be like 40%. So if I think he should be 40 and he's 15, then he's under-owned to me. So I just think he's the best play by a mile. The nice part is you don't have to play anyone with him. I probably will, just because Deontay Harris is 3,200 and I need some cheap guys anyways. So it just makes sense for me. Like I'm not paying $5,000 for Marquez Callaway with him. I'm not spending salary to pair it. But if you play, say, Troutman at 2,500, that's a cheap tight end. So it kills 2 birds with 1 stone. You get some cheap salary savings you need. Play it with your quarterback. And you know what? Troutman, maybe he doesn't do anything, but he's still 2,500 at tight end. It gives you a lot of flexibility in other areas to get up to guys like Kupp and JT and these guys. So I am probably going to pair him with Deontay or Troutman, or even like Little Jordan at 3,500 who did good. One of these scrubs, though, I'm okay pairing with them. You don't have to, though. Definitely don't have to this week. Kamara, I probably won't play with him this week, but I will play Kamara on a non-Taysom team where you have a different court, like Huntley or someone. If you played Huntley, play Kamara. I think Kamara is a nice tournament play because New Orleans has to win this game. I think New Orleans totally dominates this game, and I like it. And I like Russell Gage as a run back, like you said, Holden. That he's got a perfect matchup against this New Orleans D in the slot. The only thing they struggle with is the slot, and that's where Gage is going to be. So I like it. I feel good about this game.
You can't go Matt Ryan, though, can you? Not against.
You're definitely not going Matt Ryan. Under no scenario are you going Matt Ryan.
So, Hoop, let's start with Russell Gage then. You got any interest there in a nice matchup? I know the rest of the team doesn't have a nice matchup, but he does.
No, I'm not going to play Russell Gage. I don't like him all that much. I do like Taysom, though. I like Taysom a lot, and I don't think you need a run back if you're playing a lot of Taysom today. I don't think you need to pair him up with these wide receivers. If you're going to do so, though, I agree with Tone Dog, where you want the cheap guys. I'm not paying a premium for Callaway. I'm not paying a premium for Traquan Smith. I'm not paying the premium. I'm going to pay the cheap guys. So Taysom's in a great spot. I mean, you look at the last 4 games that he started: 11 carries, 11 carries, 11 carries, 12 carries out of your running back or out of your quarterback. That's phenomenal. If he gets, we say it all the time, at his price point, if he gets a rushing touchdown, which is somewhat likely, you're free rolling the rest of the game. So I really like Taysom at quarterback here in a must-win spot in a dome, which somewhat underrated at this point in the season. I mean, a lot of cold temperatures, a lot of shitty weather games. Not this one. In a controlled environment in a dome against a team that is dead for the most part in the Falcons. So give me some Taysom. Not super interested in Kamara. Deontay Harris is fine. Troutman's fine. But, the main play for me is going to be Taysom in a must-win spot in a dome.
Okay, we'll take that. Like button, where are we right now? We are at 521. That's pretty good. I like that. Chris, I don't know what you're laughing at, but okay, that's fine. Just messing around with a little DK, a little Saber Sim. I'm messing around with Saber Sim today. I'm not going to go into the 150. I'm going to do a little 20 max today, guys. This will be the first time.
Even the people, I think the people, we're going to do content too, like Hoop said, this week, next week. Now that NFL's winding down more content, but people always want to say, I mean, I know people personally, they're like, I can't use Saber to build 150 because this and that, making excuses for why they can't do it. Play the quarter. Like, why can't you play a quarter tournament? I know it sounds crazy because people, like normal gamblers, like they want to spend $100 or $200. So they feel dumb like getting in the quarter tournament, but it's teaching you to enter 150 teams and it's giving you upside still, even when you don't realize it. I mean, what is a quarter times 150 anyways? Like, what is that?
I don't know.
I'm not very good with the old
something.
$30.
Yeah, like $40. So you're not like spending that much, but you're learning how to do it. It gets you better. You improve, and who knows? Maybe you win a couple $100 too on a quarter tournament. There's no reason that you can't. Just because you don't want to play. Like a lot of people won't want to put 150 in a $5 tournament or something. I get that, but why not put it in a quarter, or even a $1 one or a quarter one or something, and just learn how to do it? I think that's what people should be doing.
That's what I'm going to do. A little $3 action today. So nobody's going to be breaking the bank here, but it'd be nice to take down something or make a little.
There's always an amount you can play, right, Holden?
Yeah. Oh,
people always have that excuse, like I don't have enough money to do this or that.
Yeah, you do.
Go lower in stakes. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Like literally, whatever Coop just said, $30-something for that, and it teaches you to play 150. No reason not to do that. And you know what? If you mess up and something goes wrong, then so what? You lost $37. It's the price of learning something. The quarters are only 20 max, they said. Jay Reed's saying on DK. then put 20 in the quarter max and learn how to do it that way. There's so many things you can do. The main point I was meaning is just go in the lower stakes and just learn how to do the stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing right now. Lower stakes, learn how to do it, because I've always been a 1 to 5 guy. So why not? You guys are who would be better to learn from than the guys that we got here at Runpure Sports? Seriously, I know it's a little unfair for me because I work with these guys all the time, but in playing DFS, even going back to the days of Sandbox when some of you weren't alive, I probably learned more in the last year and a half with these guys than I really had in the 20 years beforehand playing some form of daily fantasy sports. So that's just a testimonial for me. I'll tell you that right now. Runpure Sports.
Jerker says 150 max is 50 cents. So $75. Like
right, $75. Big deal.
Yeah.
It's not going to kill you. Jets and Buffalo. Now, again, we got nasty weather here. Gusts in the 30s, constant winds in the low 20s. But, Josh Allen, who really hasn't been extremely accurate in the passing game. The dude's he ran for 2 touchdowns last week. He is putting up some yards. He's got a great matchup this week, obviously, guys. You got Singletary, who I know Hoop liked last week, played last week, crushed last week. Gabe Davis is at 4.9 on DraftKings. Dawson Knox. This is a great matchup for Dawson Knox, by the way, at 5.4, kind of in that no man's land of tight end tiers, but boy. And then there's always Michael Carter, Hoop. So I think people are afraid of this because of the weather, but is there a piece or two you want to throw in your lineup today?
Yeah, I'm going right back to Singletary. I mean, treated me well last week. I like what I saw. He's getting all the work. I believe it was, trying to find this game, 26 carries for Singletary last week, 23 carries. So 23 carries. They didn't need him in the passing game whatsoever. So he got 23 carries, 2 touchdowns. Great matchup here against the Jets. They're going to be playing with the lead. I anticipate he gets over 20 carries again today. This team's projected to score 28 points in a spot where they need to win. So give me Singletary, Josh Allen, the top raw points quarterback. If you have the salary, yeah, certainly get him in there. But I don't think it's like a must this week because as it stands now, roster construction is not super easy. You have to make some decisions. Like you're not playing Josh Allen, Jonathan Taylor, and Cooper Kupp all together. Like that's not going to happen. So Josh Allen is somewhat difficult to get to. Gabe Davis, I'm going to keep playing Gabe Davis, especially with Emmanuel Sanders out. The price on FanDuel is phenomenal, 5.2K. Give me some Gabe Davis. Even on DK, I don't hate it. Cole Beasley, not as interested. I prefer Gabe Davis. Dawson Knox is fine if you have a little money to spend at tight end, if you're not going that cheap tier. And then the Jets, I'm not messing with the Jets here. I mean, they should just get pummeled. They're projected to score 12 points today. 12 points. That's not a lot of actual points. So no Jets for me, but the Bills side, yeah, I love Singletary and I guess Gabe Davis. Those two would be my 2 favorites.
Well, Gabe Davis here. Well, Dawson Knox. Tony, how you handling this game today?
Yeah, I'm not going here as much. We got bad weather. I think Buffalo is just going to crush them. You could play Josh Allen. His projection is incredible. He's projected very high across the industry. I just can't play him over Taysom when Taysom's way cheaper. I feel like there's similar plays too. Obviously, Josh Allen is better, higher upside, all of that, but the price discount does mean something. And you get 4 quarters of Taysom. I don't think you get 4 quarters of Josh Allen pushing in. I know the narrative that they always keep pushing. Week 18 is a little different. If they're up 27-6 in the 4th, I can almost promise you they're not going to keep chucking that ball. I just don't see it. So I'm not playing Josh Allen. I do love Singletary, though, with Hoop. I just play him. I mean, I don't see why they won't just run Singletary and just win that way. I can't play Josh Allen. I am scared about it because obviously he can go for 40 any week and break the slate, but it's just Singletary for me. No Jets, no passing game. Maybe a tiny bit of Diggs because I seen what does he need? He needs 6 catches for $1.5 million. I actually think he'll get 6 catches because that 1.5 isn't a normal incentive or whatever. A $1.50 is a good little incentive for only 6 catches. So I think he'll get the 6 catches. They know that. I'll play a little Diggs, but again, it's tough. You're going to have to play Diggs at the expense of guys like Jefferson and Cooper Kupp, and I like those guys more. But you can still play some Diggs. I mean, that's what tournaments are for, to play a little different in there sometimes.
I feel like kind of goes back to Hoop there, where he's saying, hey, we can go Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook just stays in the same neighborhood as Jonathan Taylor. We're doing good.
He can outscore him too. I mean, there's no reason. I don't think it's likely, but like Hoop said, that's what makes it a tournament. He's only got to outscore him by 0.01, 1 yard or whatever.
Yeah. Or I think he's a little bit cheaper too. So maybe
but it's still a similar price range though, where if I play Cook, I still want him to outscore Taylor. Or if I play Diggs,
1,500 less on DK.
I get it, but it's still going to be similar roster construction, though. Is what I'm saying.
Got it. We got how many more games left, guys? We're down to San Francisco and the Rams and Seattle, Arizona. We're hurting on the likes. I mean, we got 1,000 watching. Over half of you have hit the like button, but we're at 543. So let's see if we can get going there. Greg Beans, 150 isn't for everybody. You're right. It isn't for everybody. It's not even
people
for me.
think that though. That's why I'm just on a tangent about it, because people think that because they're like intimidated by it. The same people will whine I was always, Hoop can verify too. I've always been a 1 to 3 lineup guy. Over the last year though, I've branched out more because I had to learn how to do it. And I'm still no expert in it, but I've learned how to do it better. And the better you get, the more you'll like it, I promise, because you can spread out a little more and play some different guys, and it makes your decisions easier. And I don't know.
The other point is, like, you don't have to be a 150 guy, to get the benefits of it. You can be a 20 max person. I've used optimizers for as few as 3 lineups before. If I have certain percentages that I want to hit and certain guys I want to get exposure to, you can use it for 5 teams. You can use it for 10 teams. I don't 150 every sport. I don't 150 NFL main slates. I 150 PGA. I 150 NFL showdowns. I 150 MMA. You don't have to be a 150 guy in every single sport across the board. The benefits of SaberSim, though, can be seen in, one. You can use the cat for a cash lineup, one lineup, all the way up to 150. So there's big time benefits to an optimizer outside of just 150 maxing.
Okay, guys, let's get to our last 2 games here on this slate. We're about 24 minutes away from inactives. If anything starts leaking out right now, we're obviously going to talk about it and adjust to it. If not, our premium Up to Lock show, we're going to do that, be digging for news. JSU is going to react to it. And Dunkel won like 65K over the last 4 or 5 weeks. That dude's been smashing on the bet side. So those of you that just think JJ is just a bets guy, no. He's pretty damn sharp DFS.
People forget that Dunkel was DFS before this bet stuff. Like, he was one of the best college and niche sports guys way before we started Runpure. Like, he was one of the best of that. So people give him credit for the bet side. They shouldn't take him lightly in the old DFS streets.
He got our first hit at Runpure Sports, remember, in NASCAR?
He did. The first couple good ones out there. NASCAR or MMA or something.
Yeah, right after we launched, he had the first big hits right out of the gate.
I bet Dunkel easily won 6 figures at DFS last year. So that easily. We don't give him credit for no DFS, but he's a sandbagger when it comes to that.
He's a sandbagger? Really?
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, he doesn't take credit either.
He doesn't take credit for his bets wins either. That's Dunkel's forte. He's the worst at taking victory laps.
Yeah, he just loaded up too for the NFL slate. I just pulled up the spreadsheet, so all his picks are up. Looks like he has six picks listed on the site.
He's up to 6 now, and he's red hot. I mean,
how do you not sign up for the bet side, Holden?
I don't know. I don't know what people are doing anymore. It's like they're terrific. They're terrific. I mean, we got guys for every single sport, and multiple guys are good at multiple sports.
Boy, Spread's getting his NBA winners in there. It's going to be a good day. It's going to be a good day.
Live shows with Keg. We got JJ. We got Tyler on the props and other stuff. So, and if I'm missing anybody, I apologize. You guys are all awesome over there, and you know that I know.
Chris said Holden is JJ Dunkel. Do you keep calling him JJ again instead of Dunkel? You're confusing people.
JJ is Dunkel. JJ is Dunkel, much like
you don't
Tony
call Hoop Mike.
Dog.
You don't. You're getting people confused with all these names. His name's freaking Dunkel.
Yeah, get it right. It's Peter Bread here.
Call him JJ. So
Yeah, it's pita bread. It's Dunkel.
Pita bread, Dunkel, and the Tone Dog. Beautiful. It's going to be a wonderful rap group that we got here. It's like I don't even want to name it. 2 games left. San Francisco and the Rams. Pita bread. Eli Mitchell. I just have a hard time not rostering him. It seems like every single week when he plays. I think Sony Michel's probably going to get some ownership, isn't he? But we got to start with Kupp. If it came down to it, Kupp versus Taylor, cash and tournaments, what are you doing there, Hoop?
That's the big decision. It's super tough if you can only play one. It's very tough. At this point, I'm probably leaning Kupp just because I think there's some good running backs we can play. Wide receiver to me is a weaker position, so I want to lock in a guy like Cooper Kupp. But that's very tough if you're deciding between those two. It is not easy, and based on the inactives here, maybe it does get a little bit easier just to play both those guys. If we get a real cheap guy, let's say Aaron Jones is out, we can go to the Taylor guy, or is it Patrick Taylor, right? Is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
Go to him at 4K. So we'll see what happens with incentives. But right now, I think most lineups, and Tone Dog alluded to this earlier, are going to have one of these two. It's going to have either Kupp or Taylor, not both, because in reality, it's not easy, but kind of leaning Kupp here.
You guys are both prop guys. Kupp's props are just literally outrageous.
Yeah,
I've never seen props bigger.
I know.
Yeah, it's wild. Huge numbers. I mean, so they're kind of defeated. They probably just don't want to get burned on this because everyone's clearly just taking the
and you
overs.
Still can't take the under though. Is the crazy part.
That's the
same with Taylor.
Part.
You know what I did with Taylor? I was just like, screw it. I'll take 12-1 on him getting 200 yards. Because he's either,
is that what it is? 12-1?
Yeah, it's
I'm betting that for sure. Where can you get that?
They got DK
12-1 that he gets 200 yards. That's like stealing.
It's a weekly special on DK. So you got to.
Is there a limit? Like, can you bet like a?
I don't bet. You show.
Well, I know, but is it like one of those promos? Like you can only bet $100 or something.
And then I threw another 183 on there. Okay, so I threw
12-1. He's going to hit 200 yards.
Where is that?
Oh, I'm going to bet that for sure.
Well, under weekly specials?
DraftKings weekly specials.
Yeah.
Let me try.
You have to go to the game or what?
I mean,
at that point, it's like if I'm going to bet 130 yards, and that's not easy to get. Why not just go for the gusto?
Yeah, I don't see it on there. You
gotta find that for me because I need that.
Right,
12-1 is outrageous.
Yeah,
I wish I could bet that for Kupp too. Give me the same 12-1 at 200 yards. I'll take them both over 200 for 12-1.
Yeah, I'm trying to player parlays. Let me see here.
I mean, 12-1 is very high.
That's
there it is. All right, so go to player parlays
under that game. Yeah,
click on running back.
Oh, it is 12-1. Oh my gosh,
Taylor.
That does seem egregious, and no touchdowns tied to it. Just
I mean that's crazy to me.
I found that last night.
That's a good catch there.
Yeah, there's other ones too. I mean, look at this one: 175 and a touchdown, 7-1; 150 and 2 touchdowns, 5-1. But why not? I mean, again, if
I like the 200 one the best though, because
I know that's why I bet it. Like, why? If he's getting 130 yards, if his prop is 136, why?
You can just pound these props. Like the dude in the chat says, FanDuel has Taylor 100 yards and a Colts win plus 100. Like that's
silly,
absurd value. If that's actually the line on there,
I don't think there's a limit on this either, which is wild.
There shouldn't be on the weekly specials.
Yeah.
I mean, 12-1. That's crazy.
Yeah, so I just hit that last night. That was one of them. What was the other one?
Yeah, so Kevin in the chat says over 200 for Kupp is 5-1. That's completely different. Like,
nah,
that's not 12-1.
No.
Yeah.
12-1 is, I mean,
a lot.
That's crazy. That's a great bet.
Okay. Well, if it doesn't hit, so be it. But again, it's a good look.
Where's the what you said? The FanDuel has 100 yards and a win.
What the dude in the chat just said. FanDuel 100 yards and a Colt win plus 100. That's even better. It's not as good as value as the 12-1, but it's a better bet.
Well, even money. But you know what a 12-1 is? It's like rostering a $3,000 guy at DFS. You know,
I think it's an even better deal though, because
Better?
Taylor is going to get pounded that ball. It shouldn't be it should be like 5-1, and it's 12-1.
Okay. Well, that's where I'm going on that, boys. And maybe you guys get
Kyle
one.
Sexton said, "Hoop looks like he's talking to his Minyaka."
I'm locking in these winners. He's holding freebies.
Do you ever talk to it? You ever talk to it, Hoop? Like, come on, just get through this. You can do it.
No, I'm not one of those people. I just get down to business, get to work, get the job done, and
I know Tony
satisfy the customer and move on.
Yeah.
I definitely get down to. I'm not
I don't
much
need
of a talker either.
Yeah, I don't need a
not
pep
much of
talk
a
or
talker.
anything.
No.
You have silent. It's all silent, huh? You just
I don't know if
silent
it's like
mode.
silent, but you don't like.
Any squeaking?
There's definitely some noises, but I don't know about the talking.
So, anyways, 574 likes. We're trying to get to 7. Yeah, everybody's posting their props. I
mean, there's a lot of good props, but I think the 12-1 is one of the best deals I've seen.
Yeah, the even money one is great.
That's just more of like a standard bet.
That's your normal one.
I can't find that one though. I'm a donkey.
Don't worry about it.
There's so many of them on there that it's like,
dude, there's so many good props today. Seriously, just up and down. Unfortunately, Mark Andrews got bumped up to over 70, but even that might be playable. I got it at 60. Deontay's 5.5 receptions. Mooney 55.5. Tony, how is Mooney not getting 56 yards or more today? The Dalton.
Well, it's the Bears is one way, but
yeah, there you go.
I do like Mooney, but that is the way he does it.
A little scary
because it's still the Bears.
Well, I think that's another thing. Like when you talk to yourself about DFS and you talk to yourself about betting, and they're so correlated, which is why getting on the bet side makes sense. But you have to talk through. All right, what if Jonathan Taylor? What's the downside to rostering Jonathan Taylor? Well, if he doesn't hit his price today, then it's there is a path to you not doing great.
It was awesome yesterday, though, because dudes in the chat were saying Mahomes didn't hit value, and he got 27. Like,
yeah, he's pretty good.
And then it was even more disgusting that Dak outscored him, which, like, I guess in their heads quantified Mahomes not hitting value because Dak outscored him. It was just so ridiculous, though, that the dude got 27, and they were acting like he didn't get there.
It was bad.
Like, what do you want him to get?
Yeah.
Oh, the Jonathan. Sorry to update the Jonathan Taylor thing for him to hit 100 and them to win. It's one of those boosted things. The max you can bet on it's $50.
Oh yeah, that was what I was worried about the 12-1.
The 12-1 is
still might as well put a little 50 piece on it though.
Yeah, I did put the 50 on, but like the Jonathan Taylor, the rushing thing, the 12-1 is that's insane.
We put 100 on
I mean, that's just a great value. I mean,
I might put a big chunk on that because
a big chunk.
I think
if you put a big chunk and that hits, can you send me one of those things behind you?
One of the rings?
Yeah, one of the rings.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
All right.
Please send them one. Send them both to him.
Send both.
You got to.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to throw them the fuck out, so I don't got to look at them every Sunday.
Hey, everyone in the industry is going all official with their backdrops, getting the nice little pictures and the lighting, and I got to just roll with the rings. I can't.
I mean, Tony, I'll actually trade you. I got one of those here. I'm going to bring a prop in. I got one of those lights that Tony has that changes color. You send me the 2 rings. I'm going to send you a light changing color light.
I got good shit too that I could put up. I do need to look
like
into
what?
that. Maybe.
What could you put up, Hoop?
I got that Rocket Mortgage Pro-Am thing. My boy Chesson Hadley and Danny Lee signed a flag for me with my picture. Could get that. I got the nice Tom Brady Gronk.
I was going to stop listening to your stories again.
No, he just said Tom Brady and Gronk. He looks intrigued. Talking to my guy down here going, hey, you excited?
All week Holden's done it, though, and I can't unsee the Curb Your Enthusiasm with the noise. Because Holden just hates stories.
He like leads you down the path to tell a story, and then he just like immediately cuts you off. He's like,
you can see it in his eyes.
Yeah, he's like, why did I ask this question?
Not today.
How do I get out of it?
Today, wonderful stories, Hoop. We don't have much to get through either, so we may have gotten through a whole one without having to cut you off for a shitty story. Anyways, did we do San Francisco and the Rams? We did, didn't we?
I was kind of talking about them. We went down this other path. Sony Michel kind of scares me a little bit. I know he's cheap at $6K, but they clearly want Cam Akers to be their running back, and it sounds like he's close to full health. Now he's not, obviously this isn't going to be like a 50-50 split between these two, but I think he does enough to potentially take Sony Michel out of play for me. So, I mean, all the reports I've seen is that he looks really good in practice. They want this guy to be the running back. So a little concerned about Michel. Cooper Kupp, obviously phenomenal play.
God, everyone's saying it doesn't exist anymore. The 12-1. Did you lock it in?
Yeah.
It's right here on my phone.
Yeah, it definitely does still
People
exist.
just can't find it. Where's it at? Tell the chat again one more time.
Go to NFL.
That's
click
right
on
here,
player parlays and click on running back. And the first one you'll see there is Johnny Taylor plus 1,200 to get 200 yards rushing. Okay.
Yeah.
And listen, it's a 12-1 bet. So there's more likelihood that it doesn't. But again, there is a clear path to him getting 200 yards today. If you're going to give me $12 every one of my one, that's something that I have to do. So
I feel pretty good saying in this scenario, if this is played out, this game's played out 12 times. If this is played out 8 times, Jonathan Taylor hits 200 yards at least once.
At least once?
Yeah, I think, I mean, definitely. I think 2 or 3 times out of 12 he wins it.
Yes, agreed.
Especially in this spot. It's first Jacksonville. They have to win. Jacksonville's quit. It's literally the perfect. It shouldn't be 12-1. So whoever's watching this, you should bet it. Granted, it's still a 12-1 bet. You still need 200 yards. We're not saying it's a friggin' lock. So don't go in there and bet the mortgage on it. But go in there, bet responsibly, and put something on it.
Yeah. $5 get you 60. 10 will get you 130, 120. So just even little bets if you guys are down. Oh, and congrats.
I got screwed on that Broncos bet yesterday too, Holden.
What happened?
I put it out on Twitter. It was like plus 375.
For what?
I said, go bet the Broncos, got on it. And they freaking would have won easy, but they fumbled to the house. Yeah. KC got so lucky to win that game.
Listen, I went 1-1 in that game. I had the under on Javonte, but fucking under 16.5 for the Broncos. And they ended up getting that stupid penalty that allowed and that was it. That was the changer. So this is what happens in sports, though. It's like you think it's going to cash. No. It's very tough to bet and be successful. It's very tough to play DFS and be successful. But this is the world we live in. So try to be successful. Some people are more successful than others. Did you have any take on the San Francisco Rams thing here with Kupp and Taylor to start, Tony?
I interrupted Hoop. I don't even remember. You guys got me excited with that 12-1. I don't remember what we were even talking about.
We were talking about
who am I talking about?
Cooper Kupp versus Jonathan Taylor.
I mean, I'm playing them both. I made that. I think the edge is playing them both. I hope value doesn't pop up right away. Even if the value pops in the afternoon, I'm okay with it more so. Just don't pop up in the morning. I'm playing them both. I think they're both going to get in the 30s. If they both get in the 30s, you know what? I'll just take my chances. Maybe it's not the total nuts because of how much salary you spend and maybe the mid-range go crazy. I'll just take my chances, though. If they both get in the 30s, I'm going to have a good week because there's going to be busts other spots. It's week 18. I'll just take my chances. I'm going to play them both. I freaking love Kittle, too. I mean, his price point is just not high enough. I think Kittle's easy to predict. When they're losing or in close games, he goes off. If they're winning, they don't throw and he blocks more. I think it'll be a good game. And another thing we should say, too, is San Fran owns the Rams. They totally own them. I wanted to make sure Jimmy G was in. It looks like he's going to be in. As long as Jimmy G plays, the Niners have owned them. Yeah, if Lance plays, that's a different story because he's not very good right now. But I don't know. I love Kittle, though, at 6,700. I agree with Hoop. Sony's a little more risky with Akers going to get some work. It's not going to get much, but they want to get him a little bit of a feel just going into the playoffs. So I'm not going to play Sony Michel this week. If you play Stafford, you can play Kupp. Obviously, maybe play one more Beckham, Van Jefferson, Higbee. But this game, I think this game could get some points too. I mean, both teams are definitely capable.
Okay, last game to get to. Hit the like button. 7 minutes away from inactive. So again, if we're not on the air, make sure you stay here with RPS, and then we'll do the Up to Lock show with JSU, Dunkel from the bet side, and me, and we'll break down all the inactive news and try and find a gem or two. Tony, Seattle, Arizona. I mean, everybody now is in love with DK Metcalf again. Okay.
Yeah.
AJ Green has a little incentive to have a nice game today. Rashad Penny in a tough matchup, but he's been getting all the work. James Conner looks like he's going to get a ton of work now. Edmonds has some issues. Kyler Murray, boy, Zach Ertz, Gerald Everett. There's a lot of names here. The question is, Tony, do you have any that you actually want to roster?
I'm going to be lower on this game than probably everybody. I think people will play guys in this game. I just hate Arizona. I say it every week on this show. I just don't like them. I don't like a single one of their players. I go down the list. They're just not good to me, including Kyler. I just don't even like him. So I don't know. Versus Seattle, Penny, look, I was all in Penny last week. The workbench play of the week, or we called it the Minyaka play of the week. Penny crushed. I'm off of him this week. I'm off of Seattle. I'm just off of this game. Ertz is going to be very popular. I don't see upside as much with him. I'd rather just play a guy like Kittle. You could punt with Gerald Everett, but I don't really need to. I'm off this game. I'll just, I'm off.
All right, Hoop, you got anything in the last game of the day?
Yeah, a little higher. James Conner, I think, is maybe the best running back play, assuming he's in. That's part of the situation where you kind of need to backload a little bit today to make sure he's going to play. He's questionable, did get in limited practice in a must-win spot. You have to imagine he's in. And when Edmonds has been out, he's gotten a lot of work in the passing game. Some 6-catch, 7-catch games, creates a nice floor. The price is too cheap. Are you on, Tony? You're off Connor too, even if he's in?
I'm not. Yeah, if he's in, I'm sure I'll play some. I don't know. My problem at running back is I just love JT and I love Foreman, so it only leaves me one spot really. And I'm fine with Connor. It's just this could be a leak too. And honestly, it probably is a leak that I fade too many of these good plays when I'm playing 150. So I probably should play some Connor. So I do think he's a good play. It's just I think I would narrow my player pool too much.
Yeah, I like Kirk too. You look at the last few games, 12 targets, 9 targets, 9 targets, no more, or Edmonds, which should be a boost to him. He gets some of the short passing stuff and the deeper stuff as well. This Antoine Wesley guy, I think, is pretty interesting. They keep looking him up, like in the end zone. He's a tall dude. He's going up and getting the ball. I like Wesley in tournaments, more like,
I think we talked about him 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was 4 when Hopkins went down. Nobody said, oh, who's going to play the DeAndre Hopkins role? This kid's playing the DeAndre Hopkins role. Yeah. So that's why he keeps getting looks that he does. So I think that's an interesting call today. Yeah.
They're down guys. He's still cheap and he's getting a ton of red zone targets. So I think Wesley, if you're doing 150, he's a guy to keep in the mix. Ertz, probably more of like a FanDuel play for me. He's really cheap on FanDuel. I just don't think I can get to like 5.3 on DK, which seems crazy because it's not a high price tag. But man, it's thin right now. When you start building out these teams and getting your guys in, like even if you're just playing one of Taylor or Cup, like the salary goes pretty damn quick today. And like I said, DraftKings and FanDuel both did a good job pricing guys this week. A lot of times week 18, there's so many free squares. You can just jam them in and move on. They eliminated most of the free squares. So good job by both the sites in doing that. But yeah, I'm higher on this game. I'm not going to play the Seattle side. Who knows what you're going to get? Could be the last game here with this group of guys. So I'll fade Seattle, but definitely have some interest in those Cardinals guys. Okay,
very good. Are we ready to go with our plays of the day, guys? Are we ready to do this? The rich parents play of the day, the workbench play that. Can I get a windmill from you real quick, Tony? Even if it's half-assed.
It's got to naturally happen. The problem is, we're only at we're not even close to 700 likes.
Yeah. Do you not want to give your pick? All right, how about this? Here's the deal. If you get us, where are we at right now? You get us to 650 in the next minute, we will give Hoops play. All right. So we'll start with the workbench play though. If I was you, I would want the hoop play 650. We got to get that by the time Tony's done and I'm done. Come on, get it going. What do you got, Tony? Workbench. Let's hit it.
Let me look real quick. I was going to go one direction. Then you got me thinking about a windmill. Who would give me the,
who would give you a windmill?
I can hop in and then Tony.
Get Hoop. I'm going to see if I can find a windmill play.
Hoop, I thought we had to get to 650 though. So
he was talking about something different than you. You got confused. He was talking about what else were we talking about?
Long story short, pound the like button or these plays.
The windmill, yeah. He was saying we weren't to 700 to get like windmill worthy.
Yeah. Oh, 7 of windmill. You know what?
Why don't you go, Holden? You got your play lined up?
How about this? I don't even know what you call my play of the day. So I want to go Dante Foreman, but everybody's gonna be on Foreman, right? Can't go Dante Foreman. It's just not happening. So I'm gonna go back to a guy that I touted big time last week. Was not my play of the week though. I don't see anybody having Rob Gronkowski. I just don't see it, guys. And I look at him and I think he's gonna go out and do the same goddamn thing he did last week. 7 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown or 2. That is going to be the guy today. I'm gonna have probably a Taylor Gronk and a Cup Gronk, and you can't put him in a lineup with both of them. But Gronk is the guy that I'm just all over today, guys. And I don't think people are going to play him. I think he's just going to smash at the tight end position. But Tony, I see you smirking over there. Roster construction might be a little difficult, but again, Gronk is the play here. Hoop.
Cool with that. Everyone's going to be going cheap at tight end, and even up to like a guy like I said, Ertz. It's not easy to pay up at all at tight end really today. The way the slate is setting up, it could change. We're going to be getting inactives here within a couple minutes, but I'm good with the Gronk call for sure.
Okay, let's do this. What do you got, Hoop?
Okay, we'll go to the rich parents play of the day.
We got 667, by the way. They got it like this.
The people are responding, and we like that.
We love it.
I'm going to go to I'm going with Dalvin Cook as a rich parents play of the day. To me, this is like a 150, a tournament type play. He's has to come in low on with people just jamming Taylor and Cup. He's kind of a tier below in terms of the pricing. I don't think it's going to take much to get over the field. So I want some exposure. If you're doing 150 to Dalvin Cook today, he will be the rich parents play of the day.
It's by far the best thing about Hoops play or whatever that graphic is when me and all that are in the boat, like behind, it's my favorite.
It's very good.
Just in the trail boat.
Very good.
So good.
So good. All right, what do you got, Tony?
Yeah, I got to own Holden. I mean, what's better than ending the regular season 18 weeks with you rolling out Gronk and then me rolling out my boy George Kittle at the same price point just to absolutely destroy your old man Gronk play.
Okay.
I mean, Kittle is going to go off today. We've seen it a few times. I mean, what is he going in these games where they needed him? I mean, 15 for 151, 12 for 181. He's going to go off today. They need him. The Niners need to win to have a chance to get in, or to get in, I guess. If they win, they're just in. Definitely George Kittle to get the job done today.
Okay. Just getting a couple of the inactives here. T. Higgins is the biggest name that I'm seeing at this point. But for those of you that are
Aaron Jones is officially inactive too.
Yeah.
What's that?
Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones. Beautiful. So now it's Dylan and our boy Taylor. Okay. All right, Uncle T, I'm looking forward to our bet. Is all I'm saying. I hope Aaron Rodgers plays the half. I think that'll be wonderful.
How tilting is it going to be for you when he comes out with like a series left
one
in the
series
first
to
half?
go? Why would you say that? What? No, I don't care.
It would just make for the bet to be incredible if he came out right before half.
Yeah. And then you have to listen to the Wishbone, which pops on Wednesday, because we don't talk any football usually, and we would actually lead the show with some football for once. So that would be wonderful. Are we doing this in the playoffs, boys? We're still going to do this.
Yeah,
we're still.
Yes.
In our last show.
Last full Monty though. The last full Monty.
Yeah. But we got 6 games next week, which is awesome.
So last full Minyaka.
The last.
So what is it next week, Holden? Is it 2 Saturday, 3 Sunday, 1 Monday?
Yes. Yeah.
I like that.
So
that's a nice little schedule. That's a nice little weekend.
Yeah.
It is. All right. The inaxers are popping out. No Chris Conley. Okay. All right, guys. David Bakhtiari is playing today. Dude, the Packers.
I seen that yesterday, actually. It was like him boarding the plane. I think he's only going to play a little bit to get comfortable, too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here we go, guys. Make sure you get over to our premium show, The Final Countdown. JSU, JJ from the Bet Side will stop by. I'll be hosting that one. No Xavier Rhodes.
It's an important up to lock too with these guys because there's going to be news.
It is. It's pretty damn important. Lamar's inactive. Ben Powers.
Deshaun Watson's inactive.
Huh?
Deshaun Watson's inactive.
Simon, just get us out of here.